Is, well, 7:05. Let's go ahead and fire this thing off. Welcome, everybody, to the January 12th council meeting. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bennett.
Here.
Councilmember Bureau.
Here.
Councilmember Singh.
Here.
Councilmember Spaeth.
Here.
Councilmember Swamy.
Here.
Vice Mayor Gibson.
Here.
Vice Mayor McGibson. Okay. And Mayor Stricula.
Here. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. First item is the approval of the December 8th council meeting, the minutes from the December 8th council meeting. Motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Abstain? Great. City Manager's Report. Mr. Hanson.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a couple of items here, actually several items. A couple of motions. Typically this time of year, it is timely for council to make a motion to appoint clerk of councils, which would include Dan Chambers and Allie Hampton, as your elected official designees for public records law training, which is required by the ORC. If council is willing to do that, for those lucky to, a motion would be appropriate.
I'll make the motion. Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Great.
Second, I do have some plans through the course of this year to be out of town. In those cases, it's appropriate for council to appoint someone to act as the city manager in my absence. Motion appointing Jennifer Heft as the acting city manager would be appropriate in order to allow me to do that.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion. Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Perfect.
Thank you. She's very excited. A couple of announcements here. The city has begun Christmas tree collection services for folks that have a live Christmas tree that they're ready to dispose of. Throughout the month of January, City Service Department will be traveling through the streets, chipping those trees for use as mulch. Residents should place their live trees curbside for pickup throughout this month. If you do place a tree in a bag at the curb, that means Rumpke will remove it and it won't be recycled. Another item I did want to draw some attention to, the City of Mason has a campus safety team, which has proved very successful as a partnership between the City of Mason and our police department. They have done a series of 3 safety team trainings, and the last one is coming up on February 12th, Thursday, February 12th, and it is a safety workshop from 6 to 8 p.m. I believe it's being held at the Aquatic Center, and it is focusing on the topic of online safety and internet security. This is a free workshop as part of our partnership with the schools and the campus safety team, and it's available to all community members ages 14 or above. Do ask for registration, which is available on the city's website. This is an increasingly timely and important topic, so I hope that residents interested will take advantage of that. Similarly, the City of Mason has a partnership with the Maid Chamber, and we host a new resident coffee on Wednesday. The next one will be on Wednesday, February 4th, 10:30 a.m. at the Mason Community Center. It's a quarterly program designed to help new residents get acclimated to the community, as well as promoting services available through the chamber, through the city, and amenities. And those that participate, they get both a tour of the community center as well as a free day pass for their time. Another partnership between the city and the Maid CDC in partnership with the Maid Chamber is a patriotic rock painting opportunity to help celebrate America 250. This is being held on Saturday, February 14th, but is also in partnership with the American Legion. So at one event on Saturday morning, folks can take advantage of the American Legion Post's monthly breakfast. 8 a.m. to noon, at a very reasonable cost for an all-you-can-eat breakfast. And then the rock painting that coincides with that, for rocks that will then be used to create a patriotic display in the Mason Mile, is free for participating in the breakfast. Also in February, on Sunday, February 22nd, the Mason Symphony Orchestra, which the city is a lead sponsor of that, of those events, is presenting a cinematic concert featuring Disney's Coco, but they're doing that at the Kings Island Theater. So that is an opportunity, I think, especially amenable to children, to expose them both to Disney's Coco as well as Kings Island. They perform the movie score while you can watch the Disney film. Tickets are available for purchase, and that's through the Symphony's website, masonsymphonyorchestra.org. And then one other announcement, just wanted to highlight Greater Cincinnati Water Works, which through contract provides water services for residents and business in the city of Mason, recently won an award that I wasn't aware of existed before. But 2025, Cincinnati Water Works, so the water that Mason residents enjoy, was awarded the best tasting water in Ohio. That got the applause. Nothing else got the applause. Statewide competition, and there's a panel of actually skilled water testers that made that decision and awarded Cincinnati region, including the city of Mason, the best tasting water. Finally, I do have 2 liquor permits. One of them is a new one. Let's see, Jennifer's already excited. That was not included in your package, just came in today. It is a permit for Low Country Studios, Inc., doing business as Painting with a Twist. It is a D6D2, which is sale of intoxicating liquor on Sunday between the hours of 1 p.m. and midnight, and wine and certain prepackaged mixed drinks for on-premises consumption in sealed containers for carryout until 1 a.m. Council can request a hearing or not request a hearing and do that via motion.
Mayor, I will make a motion not to request a hearing.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Nope. Okay, thank you.
The second one is for Mercy Wines LLC, a D1, which is beer only for on-premises consumption in sealed containers for carryout until 1 a.m. We did make contact with the owner of Mercy Wines, who indicated, as we had suspected several months ago, that they are not intending, they do not need the liquor permit, but the state apparently has not caught up to that request for canceling that liquor permit. With law director's advice, it's probably best for us to go ahead and not request a hearing in order to not potentially complicate any of the paperwork involved with that. So I do not anticipate this to occur, but that would be the recommendation, doing that via motion.
Mayor, I will make a motion not to request a hearing.
All in favor? Nope, second, sorry. All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Perfect.
That's all I had, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hanson. And next on the agenda is a special presentation that we have. A resident for the USS Cincinnati Memorial, Mr. Bob Viney, is here to tell us a little bit more about that project, that exciting project I'm sure we've all seen off of Taylorsville. So,
Great. Thank you for the invitation to present a little overview of this memorial project. Actually, we're probably one of the closer communities to where it's going to be located, although it's just across the border into Butler County. But I wanted to ask for this time because Mason City Schools is one of the 3 schools helping us tailor the STEM content to kids of grade-specific ranges, so elementary, middle, and high school. You explain things a little differently depending on which grade the kids are in. And we're not experts on that, but the teachers are. So we have a group of teachers from Lakota, Mason, and Indian Hill who are going to help us with that. So these are just quickly the people that are involved in helping pull this together, where we've been working over the last few years. This is a rendition of what the memorial will look like. It is a tangible reminder of our nation's investment during the Cold War to deter war and aggression and defend peace and security. And the motto that we've chosen for our memorial is, "Peace is our purpose." The project vision is really threefold. One is a memorial to honor U.S. Cincinnati's Cold War service and the service of all residents in the area in Southwest Ohio who served during the Cold War in any branch. It's a full-size replica of the USS Cincinnati, 360 feet long, 32 feet in diameter, and has several elements from the actual USS Cincinnati that served for about 20 years during the end of the Cold War. Second is to excite youngsters with submarine-related STEM topics, science, technology, engineering, and math, and also trades. We want kids who are maybe not going to go to college, but who are thinking about a trade career, a technical trade career, to understand that maybe they could build submarines. Our nation needs to hire about 10,000 new skilled trades people to work in building submarines over the next 10 years, so 100,000 people. And this is important to boost our nation's ability to compete in the high-tech global economy that we're facing today. And the third is to provide a community resource for recreation and events. National holidays, ceremonies, festivals, concerts are going to be held there. It's considered to be a regional visitor attraction. The Butler County Visitors Bureau is looking to combine the VOA National Broadcast Museum benefits with the benefits of this memorial and really make it a very unique attraction in the country from the standpoint of patriotism, history, and education. We expect to get national recognition for it. As I said, the auditor did a economic impact study and projected between $6 and $27 million a year will come as new benefit to the region. We also have the athletes and families who are at the VOA Metro Park participating in tournaments during the year. The park has told us they have 88,000 kids and families playing on the fields that border the Cincinnati Memorial. So we should have a built-in audience for, as most of you parents know, you're there at 9 o'clock for a game and then you're there at 2 o'clock for a game. What are you going to do for 4 hours? We have an idea. So I said it's a full-size replica. We're going to provide the experience of a virtual guided tour being via museum quality displays. They'll be placed in each of the areas representing the internal compartments of the submarine, and you'll be able to see the operations that took place there, the major equipment, the science behind how it operated, and who stood watch there, who maintained that equipment, what were their skills and their tasks. We're going to have 4 interactive video kiosks that are going to be powered by artificial intelligence software, which will engage the kids in a discussion, not just post it on a screen and read it or be read to them, but actually, as you probably have seen some of the examples of AI, it actually engages them in an interactive discussion. We'll also have a STEM education center where we're going to have hands-on activities at special days for the kids to actually work with buoyancy, do math and geometry on chart pads, deal with a electrolyzer that makes hydrogen and oxygen from water, which is one of the key elements that make a submarine able to stay underwater. It's the actual conning tower, fairwater planes, upper rudder, and the emergency diesel generator on the USS Cincinnati, which was built in 75, 76, The Cincinnati Reds were going to 2 back-to-back World Series championships during the time that the submarine was built. So instead of painting the diesel engine gray, they painted it red and called it the Big Red Machine, right? We're also going to get some artifacts from real submarines to show the control room panels on how the ship is controlled, a periscope that kids can be able to look through, and additional submarine equipment and artifacts are on our wish list, and we hope to be able to get some more interesting topics. This is a picture of the ship control station on the left that we have been promised, and that's a picture of the Big Red Machine as it actually sat in the USS Cincinnati. That's another view of the rendition. You can see the Education Center is in the foreground on the left. Under the submarine, you can see the red block, which is the Big Red Machine. And then on the other side of the submarine is a wharf and pier area for concerts, speakers, bands, that kind of thing. This is a view of the wharf and pier from across the pond. So just a quick overview of the STEM topics. As I said, museum quality displays, 3 panels in each compartment. This is what the interactive kiosks will look like. We will have compartment labels, so as you walk through 360 feet of submarine, which is like walking from the end zone to the end zone in Paul Brown Stadium. The first panel will describe Cold War history and the role of submarines and Voice of America in winning, and the second panel will describe how we build submarines. Then we'll get into the interactive kiosks. We have 3 different high schools, as I said, helping us tailor the content. We'll also include screens about the history of the Cold War and teach the importance of STEM topics related to submarine operations. This is a graphic of what the fixed displays might look like. We have a team of subject matter experts that are working to develop the technical content, submarine veterans who actually served on submarines and operated most of that equipment, and then a team of local educators that are helping us tailor it to kids and also helping us fit it into the STEM requirements that they have from the state in order to teach STEM. So we want to make sure that we can accommodate both. So we've tested with kids the kind of questions they have, and of course, they're interested in sometimes the high-level things like, well, how does a submarine go up and down? How do they breathe underwater? Where does it get electricity? How do you get rid of trash? How do the bathrooms work? So, in addition, we're going to talk about how nuclear power works and how steam turbines work and things like that. So, the topics will cover physical science, water chemistry, mathematics, geometry, engineering sciences with navigation, nuclear science and engineering, of course, and biology. So there's quite a wealth of STEM-related topics that are involved in, as we say in our video, one of the complex machines ever built and operated. The hands-on activities, as I said, will have a tabletop electrolyzer made of vinyl plastic so the kids will actually be able to see the inside of how an electrolyzer operates, not just the output. There's a hydro car kit that we have that has 2 water tubes, a small electrolyzer, a small fuel cell, and a small solar panel. And the kids will be able to make hydrogen from the water tubes. They'll be able to plug that into the fuel cell, and they'll be able to see the car drive. So they will be able to demonstrate that you can drive a car from water and sunlight. There's also a program called Sea Perch, where they assemble a submersible that's radio controlled, and then we're going to have a buoyancy tank in the STEM Center. They'll be able to put it in the buoyancy tank and operate it remotely. A navigation table for math and geometry, and many calculations for the older kids, like the power generated by a certain number of uranium atoms and that fission and so forth. These are the schools that have been involved: Lakota, Mason, Indian Hill, and Butler Tech. This is what the submarine looks like now. It's about 95% complete. Most of the work right now is going on laying the pavers for the plaza. The education center is about 98% complete. I think we have one item on the punch list. This is a view of the center island with the flagpoles that are going to be there, and that's where the introductory display will go. Picture of the wharf and the pier. It's an inside view if you're walking through the submarine. Now, what's missing on the top are solar panels. That area that's open right now will have solar panels installed on the horizontal bars. And then on the website, if you go to subcincy.org and click on construction updates, there's a camera that takes a picture every 10 minutes and posts it on the internet. And this is what the submarine looks like at night with the lights inside the big red machine glowing pretty brightly. Questions? Yes, Joy.
May I?
Yeah, go ahead, Councilmember.
Do you have a prospective date for when it will be open?
I do. Thank you. May 15th to 17th. We'll be using that weekend, and the main activities will take place on Saturday, the 16th. We're going to have a dedication of the memorial and a recommissioning. You may know when a new submarine or a ship gets commissioned, there's somebody who breaks a champagne bottle on the bow. Well, we're going to recreate that to symbolize the second service of the USS Cincinnati to the community. They served the first time for 20 years, very with distinction, and now maybe it'll be 100 years in the next group. We're still raising funds to complete, so if anybody goes to the website, there's a donate page there, and we'd appreciate your help.
Mayor,
Councilmember
I
Spain.
have a quick question. So I live nearby there. I've been seeing it, and it's been fascinating. At first, I was like, "What the heck is that?" Right? But how many people can you get in there at one time? Because from the road, it doesn't look like it's very big. Does that? I mean, how many are you going to be limited? Like, how many can be going in at the same time?
The Butler County and Westchester Township have created a whole new entrance and exit. You know, it used to be you had to go in on Crossley Boulevard. There's a whole new entrance that's going to be opposite Pepper Pike. They have applied for a stoplight there to control the traffic. There's a turn lane that didn't exist before. And there is parking along the berm that's on the east side of the pond, the opposite side from where the submarine is. We do have a limited number of parking spaces right in front, but there's places for school buses and tour buses. There's lanes for that. You will also be able, from that entrance, as you drive up, you could turn left to go into the parking lot by the athletic building, turn right to go into the other parking lot. So they're not right at the site, but there should be a lot of parking available.
Mayor.
Yes.
Bob, can you speak to your experience with an actual nuclear submarine?
Yeah, I went to the Naval Academy and went to nuclear power school, submarine school, prototype. It was about 18 months of training before they ever let you walk on a submarine. But boy, when you walk on, you know, the responsibility starts right away. I walked on as a 22, 23-year-old student, basically, just out of schooling, and the captain said, "Congratulations, you are a nuclear weapons safety officer." So you get early responsibility in all branches of the service. I served on the USS Tautog, which was a fast attack nuclear submarine in the class that preceded the USS Cincinnati. and I served during, in Cold War and in Vietnam War regions during 1972 to 74. And then I taught nuclear power school at Mare Island before I came to work for Procter & Gamble in 1976. And after 6 years being a nuclear submarine officer, I was trained to sell coffee to housewives. Yes, sir. It was very short. When he was alive, he interviewed every officer that went on into the program, and he had a yes or no veto. And the day I was there, most of his questions were about, why did you get a C in this course back in freshman year? And the only answer was, I didn't work hard enough. Any other answer got you sent to a closet or, somewhere else to reconsider why you would lie to the admiral. So I was briefed on that. I was asked to commit 20 hours a week to study in my second half of my first class year. And I was serving as the company commander, so I told him I thought that might be a little hard for me to honestly commit to. So after being told that being a company commander would do me no good once I got to an actual ship, we agreed on 15 hours, and I was dismissed.
Any other questions from council?
Yeah, I just want to congratulate you on pulling this off. As a recently retired engineer and a historian, always interested in exhibits like this, I could not believe when that conning tower went up, because like Barb, I was looking at this thing trying to imagine what in the world are they building? But this is such a unique and important exhibit to have, and to have it so close by so that so many of our students can go see it. It's just amazing. And I just want to congratulate you, because I know these things are incredibly difficult to pull off. So thank you.
What we did has never been done. There are many cities that have submarines named after them. And after they're scrapped, they take the conning tower and they put it on a concrete slab, and they put a plaque next to it that says what it is, what it was from. We had the vision from the beginning that this presented an opportunity for a community asset that, as I said, historical, patriotic, educational, and we could raise the level of STEM education involvement in our kids. I've had teachers say, it's one thing to try to stimulate a kid's interest in science, technology, engineering, and math in a classroom with a book. Totally different thing, walk through a nuclear submarine and see what happens. Go to a hands-on activity center in the STEM center and learn some of this stuff. So hopefully this is going to be a very meaningful asset and a benefit to the community. That was our purpose.
Any other council questions, comments? Mr. Viney, I'll just say first and foremost, thank you so much for your service to our country. And thank you for your service to our community now. What an amazing asset that we have so close by, and really appreciate your efforts with that. And thank you so much for sharing it with us.
Thank you for the time.
Appreciate your time. Yeah.
Thank you for the time. Everybody come on May 15th.
Thank you. Great. Tough act to follow after that, but we do have visitors recognition. So if anybody would like to come and address council, you may. We do have, if you're here, for, no, I don't know the ordinance number, Ordinance 2025-96. We will have the public hearing for that coming up in 2 agenda items. But if you have anything else that you'd like to discuss with council, feel free to come up to the microphone, state your name and address, and feel free to address council. Nope. Okay. And close that. Moving on. Next item is Resolution 2026-1. Motion to read by title only.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Yes. Any opposed? Nope. Mr. Forbes.
Requesting the county auditor to make tax advances during the year 2026 pursuant to Section 321.34 of the Ohio Revised Code.
Mr. Hanson.
Thank you, Mayor. And if I could just start by, I've known enough municipal finance directors to know that they can be a bit of a strange breed. This only makes sense to them, but so if you don't understand it, that's okay. What this does is the county auditor collects property taxes on behalf of municipalities. And if no one says anything, they can keep those dollars until a certain date when they're required to settle all those up. State law allows local governments such as Mason to make a request that those funds get distributed in advance of that required settlement date, and to do that via this resolution. So in effect, what this resolution does is allows us to ask the county to distribute as they receive it funds that belong to the local Mason taxpayers, and to do that in advance of the settlement date. That allows the city to then earn the interest earnings and improve cash flow by those dollars being received as they come in instead of waiting until the settlement date. This does authorize us to do that and is recommended for adoption.
Motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second?
Council discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Burrell?
Yes.
Councilmember Singh?
Yes.
Councilmember Spaeth?
Yes.
Councilmember Swamy?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gibson?
Yes.
Mayor Stricula?
Yes.
Councilmember Bennett?
Yes.
I'm going to start. So this is on ordinance 2025-96. This is for the public hearing. I have the time at 7:35. We will open the public hearing. Ms. Bacon,
I'm actually going to let Kurt start this one off.
Mr. Seiler.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. I thought it'd be good to give a little bit of a background on how we got here today. The property on really along the 42 corridor, 185 of the 528 acres to be rezoned, was part of a farm that included the Ambleside Meadows subdivision. That area wasn't always in the city. It annexed to the city in actually January 2016, almost 10 years to today ago. We accepted that annexation, and that property was brought into the city of Mason. Of that farm, the west side of 42 was already zoned I-1 in the county, and the east side of 42 was zoned R1 in the county. What we had was an aggressive developer that was proposing residential development on that 400-acre farm with utilities provided from Lebanon. We worked with the schools, actually, and went to the county and were successful in coming to a compromise. That included the city purchased that west side of the property, the 185 acres that was zoned I-1 already. And then as part of that compromise, we worked with the developer for a lower density residential development, 1.6 units per acre, which ended up being the Ambleside Meadows subdivision. We had a similar story on the west side of the property along 741. Again, aggressive residential development was proposed, and the city ended up purchasing that, and that was well over 20 years ago. Our interest is in increasing the tax base and the job centers in the city. Obviously, those are what pay for the amenities that we enjoy in Mason, and so that's what's so important. Most of this area that's being proposed as a PUD, industrial PUD, is already zoned industrial or industrial PUD. Only about 10 acres is not already zoned industrial. So tonight, what it represents is us self-imposing additional restrictions, zoning restrictions on the property, so that we can do that important economic development work that can be done efficiently, so that it allows prospects that might be interested in building corporations or moving to their business to Mason to know that we have additional expectations for that land, that we ensure higher quality development, and we also ensure the investment that some of the corporations have already made in Mason is a good investment long term. So with that, hopefully that's helpful. I wanted to turn it over to Jordy to do her presentation on the rezoning.
Thanks, Kurt. Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, City Council. This is way perfect to come up on the screen. So tonight I'm going to talk to you about the proposed rezoning and associated concept plan for what we are calling the Mason Research and Development Park. So what you see on the screen in front of you is the current zoning of this property. As Kurt mentioned, it's about 528 acres. The white outline is the outline of the property that's proposed to be rezoned. So there's 3 zoning districts in this property right now. What you see in the almost clear no color is the current Mason Research and Development Park PUD. That's where Vega Americas is located, right off of 741. And the bulk of the remaining PUD, what you see in purple here, is zoned I1. That's our light industrial zoning district. And then there's about 10 acres just south of the Avalon Farm subdivision that's currently zoned R1 single family residential. So like I mentioned, this is about 528 acres. The city is proposing to rezone all of this to expand the current Mason Research and Development Park PUD to this entire property. As part of our discussions at Planning Commission, we just wanted to make some clarifications so everyone understands what the current zoning would allow and then what this proposed PUD would allow. So I know that text is not the most exciting slide, but I'm just going to run through so there's an understanding. What you see in that center column there, the I1 zoning district, that is what is allowed in the current purple zoning on that map I just showed you. So the bulk of the 528 acres. What's shown on the far right column is what would be proposed under the PUD. So just generally speaking for anyone, a PUD is a special kind of zoning. It's called a planned unit development. And what the developer of a planned unit development does is they craft their own zoning district. And they write a document, it's called Covenants and Restrictions. Sometimes you'll hear me refer to them as CNRs. And those CNRs are basically going to act as a mini zoning code for the entire PUD. So what you see on that right-hand column is directly from the CNRs for the current Mason R&D Park PUD, so where Vega is currently located. And what would be proposed is just to expand those CNRs so that they apply to the entire 528 acres. So running through this, currently under the I1 zoning, the maximum height that is allowed is 40 feet. However, with increased setbacks, a building can go up to 90 feet. What is being proposed in the R&D Park PUD is a maximum height of either 3 stories or 40 feet, so lower than what could be constructed right now at 90 feet. For the setbacks to residential properties under the current I1 zoning district, the setback ranges from 50 to 100 feet, depending if it's the front, side, or rear of a building. Under that PUD, it would be 100 feet regardless of the side of the building facing an industrial district. The front yard setback in the I1 zoning district right now is 25 feet. The front yard setback for the PUD would need to meet the plans that I'm about to show you. What you'll see there is they're all significantly greater than 25 feet. The I1 zoning district does not have many or any restrictions on how buildings can look. The only restrictions are that there can't be any ribbed metal panels facing roadways or residential properties. The PUD is, as Kurt mentioned, additional restrictions that the city would be placing on that property in terms of how a development could look. So the goal here is to convey high-tech architecture and progressive architecture. The words that we use, you'll see here, complement the existing park. So the way a PUD works, whatever is developed first sets the tone for the rest of the PUD. So because Vega went in first, they set the tone for what all other development in the PUD is going to look like. So you're not going to see every building look like Vega, but you're going to see that high quality architecture, some of the building materials that they use, the masonry, the glass, the wood. So you're not getting what one may think of with a traditional sort of industrial park with just the metal blank sides. You're going to get four-sided architecture. It's going to be more high quality. Then with the PUD, it's also going to restrict the uses. So the current I1 zoning district is a more traditional industrial zoning district. It broadly allows manufacturing, it allows warehousing, it allows contractor yards, it allows automobile repair shops, more major like a Caliber Collisions, for example, and it also allows office. What the proposed PUD is going to do is really focus in on that high-tech industrial light manufacturing. So the uses are limited to light manufacturing, warehousing only when associated with manufacturing. So if someone is producing parts, they could store things for that, but you couldn't just have a strict just warehouse with no manufacturing happening. And then obviously office. And so again, the goal here is to attract businesses like Vega and less like your standard traditional industrial park. So sexually oriented businesses are strip clubs, stores, things like that. There are additional restrictions on sexually oriented businesses and how far they can be located from residential properties. So while our current I-1 zoning district allows sexually oriented businesses, because of the restrictions to residential, very little of this park could allow them, but it is a possibility currently. But under the proposed zoning, this tees me up perfectly for what would be prohibited. So in the industrial PUD, you can see that there are additional prohibitions beyond the current I-1 zoning. So we are prohibiting contractor yards, we are prohibiting those sexually oriented businesses, any warehousing not associated with manufacturing. So again, you're not getting that standard warehouse. No outdoor storage of materials. So everything is going to be enclosed within a building. Again, that higher quality development. No self-storage facilities. And then the other one that's important to note here is that the covenants and restrictions specifically prohibit operations that are noxious or offensive by emission of smoke, dust, gas, fumes, noises, or vibrations beyond the confines of the building. So what that really means is all of that manufacturing work is going to happen interior to the building, and it's not going to have an impact on the surrounding properties or outside the building. And then lastly, an additional prohibition we put on there was no truck can idle on the property between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. And then these last two, slightly more minor, but signage requirements. There are stricter requirements on what a sign could look like, how it would be lighted to avoid light pollution. And then with lighting, actually limiting the height of lights within the PUD so that it wouldn't spill over and impact those neighboring properties. So I can come back to this at any time, but I just wanted to provide an overview of what the current I-1 zoning would allow and what this proposed PUD would allow. Okay, with that said, this is the proposed concept plan for the R&D park. I want to highlight here that this is just as it sounds. It is truly a concept. So it's a vision for what this park could be, but there are no intended end users. There's no intended development on any of these sites. This is the city's overarching vision for the R&D park. So what is proposed is 19 buildings spread over 528 acres. For a planned unit development, you're required to have 20% open space. That's quality usable open space the users of the PUD can use. We are actually proposing 53% open space. The goal here is this is not just an industrial park, but this is a park-like setting for industry. So if you've been out to Vega now, you know that they have the walking trails, they've maintained the nature. That's something that the city is hoping to continue throughout this PUD, which is why you see so much open space. Each building is a maximum on this plan of 3 stories, and the parking shown does match the size of the building. So this is a potential maximum build out of what this park would look like. Again, this is just a concept, so there are no end users. If someone wanted to develop, they would generally need to develop to meet this plan. If they wanted to propose something completely different than the plan, that would be a major modification, and they would have to come back through this public engagement process and have public hearings at Planning Commission and City Council. Just want to make that clear. So this is the plan that was proposed at City Council in September of last year. A number of residents came out and expressed concerns about the proposed plan. So City Council ultimately tabled the plan to allow staff time to work with those residents on their concerns. We took the time and were able to meet with the HOAs of both Ambleside and Avalon Farms, take the concerns from the public meeting, also speak with the HOA representatives, and staff came back in November and proposed some changes to the plan based on those conversations. So this plan doesn't look significantly different, but I'll walk you through some of those proposed changes. So the first one was that we heard concerns from all of the neighboring residential properties about setbacks and wanting increased distance between the industrial uses and the residential uses. So we are proposing an increased 100-foot setback adjacent to all properties. Specifically for Ambleside, because there is a road, US 42, between them, the required setback was 50 feet. But in the interest of treating everyone the same, we are proposing that be increased to 100 feet. So between Ambleside, there would be US 42 and then a 100-foot setback. Similarly, we are proposing 100-foot setbacks adjacent to Avalon Farms and to the Thorngate at Windermere Condos. Next, we heard that there were concerns about the location of Building 2. I'm just going to zoom in for everyone. Lot number 5 here is Vega. It's the current building that's out there. And we heard concerns about the location of Building 2 and how it was closer to State Route 741 than Vega. So we are proposing pushing that east so it aligns with the current Vega building to keep those sight lines consistent. So that red dotted line you see on the plan there would be where that would line up and be shifted east. One of the other concerns that we specifically heard from Avalon residents was concerns about turning out of their property and potential site issues, and they requested that we reserve up at least 3 acres of open space to help them with that. So you'll see by increasing that 100-foot setback adjacent to Avalon Farms, we've preserved a little over 3 acres of open space. While not discussed at the public meeting, the owner of Lot 6 was under design for their lot as we started to go through this process. So as a reminder, Lot 6 is currently zoned I-1, and the front yard setback for I-1 is 25 feet. With the PUD, that would be increased to 50 feet. They requested they be grandfathered in at that 25 feet since they'd already started their site design process. As you can see, all of these other properties on Weldon Drive are not part of the proposed PUD, so they're still zoned I-1, and their setback's 25 feet. So the Lot 6 is going to look just like all the other properties on Weldon Drive. There's no residential immediately adjacent to it, so we're comfortable with that, and so we're proposing to reduce that to 25 feet. Then the last concern that we heard was the height of the buildings, the proposed 3 stories. So we took a look at the location of all of the buildings. The closest buildings to the Ambleside subdivision are between 450 and 600 feet from the nearest homes. Because of that increased 100-foot setback and the roadway running between them, we felt that that was a large enough buffer that we kept the proposed height there for 3 stories. For Avalon Farms, the nearest home was only 150 feet away from the building, so significantly closer. Because of that, we are proposing to reduce the height of buildings 2, 3, and 17, so the 3 buildings closest to Avalon Farms, to 40 feet. That's what the current height is in the I-1 zoning district, so nothing would change. So, with those additional conditions, we came back to Planning Commission in November, and Planning Commission ultimately voted to forward a recommendation of approval to City Council this evening with those 5 conditions that are outlined for you in the memo tonight. So with that said, Ordinance 2025-96 is recommended for approval with those additional conditions, and I'm available for any questions. From council and then the public hearing.
Any council questions at this point?
Just a detailed one. You mentioned 25 feet. It looks like it's 25 feet on the drawing.
Oh, sorry, zooming out, not in. So you're talking about Lot 6?
Yeah, Lot 6.
So, sorry. So on the drawing, it's shown as 50 feet, which is the PUD requirement, but we are proposing for that to be reduced to 25. Sorry, I got him ahead of myself here, so we'll go out. Any other questions?
Ms. Bacon, we may have some additional questions after the public hearing, if that's okay.
Of course.
So we'll open the floor up. If you have some questions for Ms. Bacon, Mr. Seiler, please go ahead and head up to the microphone, state your name and address so we can hear. Yeah, go ahead, ma'am. And then, ma'am, I think you had some as well. For the, and just not rules of engagement, that sounds bad. We're going to keep things, there's a 5-minute time limit, so we want to make sure that we're respectful of everybody here, that we get through everybody, that we hear everybody's concerns or approval of the. And we're going to have plenty of time, ma'am. Yes, we will make sure that you are heard, and we want to hear what you have to say as well, so.
My name is Lisa Flannery. I'm in Avalon Farms, 3200 Falcon Ridge Drive. My backyard is where 17 is, up in the corner. Right now, we have Mark, what would you say, about a 20-foot buffer between our house? So when we look out in our backyard, what we see is trees. We've landscaped our yard so we don't see any of our neighbors. My concern is 17, even though it's going to be 40 feet. And selfishly, I apologize to everybody else in Avalon, but I have a personal concern. 17 is going to be directly in my backyard. We're at the top part of the pond, and we overlook. So we're going to be now looking, rather than seeing trees, we're going to be seeing a building. And I want to know what that green buffer is going to look like in terms of, are you going to leave what's there, or is it going to be built up and trees are going to be planted in there again? That's it.
So just for Lisa, but also generally speaking, that PUD buffer, no development can happen in that buffer, so you won't have buildings, you won't have anything like that. And then we do have robust landscaping requirements in Mason. Hopefully you've noticed that as you drive around. The landscaping requirement from industrial to single-family residential is a 50-foot wide buffer. This is a 100-foot setback, nothing will be built in that, but 50 feet of that will be a landscape buffer with a required 6-foot screening. Typically that's done with a mound, and then 1 tree for every 10 lineal feet. No problem.
Ma'am, if you would, thank you.
Okay. My main question.
Ma'am, I'm so sorry. Can you state your name and address,
Oh,
please?
yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, you did see that. Connie Crone, and I live at 3930 Avalon Trail. Could you put up the first slide that you had there?
The current zoning?
Yeah, or of the neighborhood, the very first one that you. Yeah. So this is our lot. Can you guys see the little hand over there? And they want to build there's a huge hill, okay, right here, where it's currently residential, and it's probably 30 feet high, kids go sledding on it and such. And then they want to build a 90-foot building on top of that, like right across the street from us. And that's the main place where we get the light that comes into our house. So there will be no light in our house. And I mean, I just can't believe that there's going to be a big, huge building right there. It just boggles the mind, really. So in any case, I wanted to know about any kind of flood studies that's been going on, because we do have 2 retention ponds in here, and they get pretty high already as it is. And we don't need a bunch of runoff from parking lots and higher elevations running down into there. It's going to be a big problem. And we did live on the south side of Mason, and a lot of industry happened back then. It was zone industrial along Snyder and 42. And then everybody ended up having to pay taxes for floodwater remediation. And I'm like, well, are we going to have to pay floodwater remediation again? You know, so what are the plans for the flooding?
I'll wait till you're done, and then I'll answer everything.
Okay. So do you have a plan for that?
Do you have any other questions?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'll wait till you're done.
Okay. So
Are there any restrictions on like large data centers going in here? I need to know. You know, we've had some power outages in the neighborhood recently and as well going east of there through, you know, the whole area. And our house doesn't, we don't lose power because we're close to 741, but everybody else does. And I didn't know if that was because there's already a problem with the power grid. And I don't know about the water and the, you know, all the resources that would be needed for a data center. And they can be as small as 20,000 feet up to, you know, several 100,000 feet. And you did address the noise limitations. We currently, in the winter, we can see Vega lights, I mean the actual lights already back there. So if there's more development, how are you going to mitigate that? So, let's see. There's a driveway easement, at least there was, currently going onto this R1 that Mason now owns, because Mason bought this property, and I don't know why it can't stay residential and why it has to be sold as part of industrial when it's so close to all these homes. But in any case, there's an easement showing a driveway going up into here. And what's going to happen to that? Are they going to make a driveway going across from our driveway into industrial park? That would not be nice off Avalon Trail. So do not do that. Sorry, I'm not a very good speaker. Let's see. I wondered what's going to happen, you know, as you probably know, some of these homes back here are actually protected wetlands, and this was built on wetlands as well as most of this area here is wetlands, and over here, and the Boyer Farm Zoo from the Cincinnati Zoo is right back here. And I wondered, you know, how are you coordinating with the zoo on that? And there's a lot of wetlands right here. We can actually see the water standing on it from our house way over here, you know, so.
Mrs. Crone, I'm sorry, you've reached the end of your 5-minute allotted time. Can you make time for the next guest, please?
Okay. Can I write all this down and send it to somebody? Okay.
Do you have Jordy's email, or would you like us?
Thank you, ma'am.
So I will answer some of the questions that was had. First, and I'll just reiterate, you'll probably hear me say this a number of times tonight, this is just a concept plan. So it is truly just a concept. There are no intended end users or specific plan developments at this time. So when you see the buildings on Lot 2 or Lot 3, we don't know if or when those are going to develop. In terms of specific floodplain studies, or we heard about wetlands, any potential work on wetlands, that would be assessed once there is an end user and they come in with their specific site plan. So this is an overall concept plan. It's a vision. Once a property sells, they will have to come back through Planning Commission with their detailed site plan. And at that time, they would need to include a traffic impact study, stormwater studies, grading, building elevations, a photometric plan for lighting. That's what Vega did when they constructed, and that's when we would assess those. So generally, again, this is a vision, but you see on this plan the proposed detention ponds. That's based on current elevations on the site and where it might make sense. This development would have to meet the Ohio EPA stormwater water quality and quantity standards, so they would detain on site. It wouldn't impact the ponds in Avalon Farms. Data centers, that's actually a great question, something we've talked about a bunch leading up to this public hearing. Currently, the covenants and restrictions prohibit cellular and wireless facilities. They're silent on data centers only because that's a relatively new use and just not something our zoning code had considered. But that is not the intended use for this research and development park. It's for high-tech industrial office space, headquarters, much like Vega. So that's something that we would be interested in including as a prohibited use in the covenants and restrictions, so there couldn't be a data center here. And for the easement on the POF property, I can't speak to that. I can ask Kurt if you know about that.
Yeah, that was actually a little piece of right-of-way that came off of Avalon Trail, if I remember correctly. And we stubbed it over to the POF, the former farm, so that we could eliminate their access point on 741 in the future. And so it was part of access management, not knowing what would happen with that 8 or 10 acre farm there. That's just a piece of right-of-way that could be vacated if we wanted to, but.
Yeah, and as you can see on this concept plan, they're not showing any roadway connection to Avalon Farms from this park. So actually what you'll see, and if you drive out there today, Vega's constructed part of the Mason Research Parkway off of the roundabout off of 741, and the long-term goal would be for that to connect through 42, and that would be the access. So no access coming off of Avalon Farms Road in any way. And then in terms of wetlands, again, I mentioned once a site sells and there's a specific site plan, we would look at wetlands. If they did want to construct in wetlands or fill in any wetlands, they would have to coordinate with the Army Corps of Engineers, and that's something we do at that time. And in terms of coordination with the zoo, because there is no detailed site plan to discuss wetlands, there's no active coordination at this time, but we did notify all property owners within 300 feet, so. I don't know of any dumping. I can't speak to that.
They, for some of the State Route 63 work, they borrowed some dirt from that site. If you remember, there was a lot of trucks hauling dirt out, and they needed to use some dirt, and now they're putting the dirt back. So that is not the wetland area. If you notice where Building 1 is, why a large portion of that site is not developed is because of that wetland area that we would retain, so.
I think that answered all of the questions.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Yes, sir. Yeah, please come to the microphone. Thanks.
I'm 4056 Acadia Lane, so we're up in the enclave, up in this area here.
Sir, could you state your name? Sorry.
I'm sorry?
Could you state your name, please?
Okay, Ron Kuznar.
Ron, thank you.
Anyway, my concern obviously is we're right off of 42. One can argue that we bought our house, we knew where we bought it, and we knew we were going to be close to the road. One of the things right now that I wanted to see, and I'm not sure where this ends up, but I like the setback on these buildings that they have down here for the entire Ambleside area. One of the things is Building 9, our houses and our neighbors too, a few of them, are right across the street from Building 9. So ideally, if I were drawing a straight line, I'd like to draw that straight line this way and chop off the front of this building, and I'm not sure that's going to happen. In lieu of that, one of the things I'd like to propose is to change the landscaping requirement along this road, and that is to go from the 905 2 to 1. So instead of having 30-foot wide, 6-foot high hills, if that's what you want to call them, along this edge, to get them 50 foot. and also trees along the thing. So as much as we can to try to shield us and the houses in this area from the road. I mean, if you go down Ambleside, there's a pretty big setback, and they do have, trees and hills along this side. But up here, about the only thing we have shielding us from 42, for lack of better words, aren't very big trees. I'd call them tall weeds. But they do provide some shielding. So one of my concerns is once those things are gone, which you guys aren't supposed to touch, but the more shielding we have from the industrial park, the better. So that's my proposal. I'd just like to see you guys go from 01 to 02 or vice versa, whatever gives you the 50. I don't try to keep those things in memory. That's your job. 2 to 1. So is that something that could be accepted, I guess, and what needs to be done to decide if that's going to happen or not? I recognize Jody says this is a proposal, but for right now, as far as I'm concerned, I look at it as a proposal that could possibly happen. So I want to protect myself now rather than wait until something changes a little bit. I'll come back and argue that later. But right now, is that something that can be incorporated? That's my question. So say yes, and I'll leave. That's all I had.
Okay, anybody else? Yes, ma'am. Yeah, go ahead. And sir, well, yeah, if you want to line up, she's right after her. She'll speak. And sorry.
I'm short, sorry. Hi, my name's Natalie Smith. I am a resident of Ambleside Meadows neighborhood. I live at 3031 Ambleside Drive. I'm the second house in. I appreciate you guys taking the opportunity to listen to the residents here. I'd like to begin with a quote from Supreme Court Justice Potter Stewart. Ethics is the difference between knowing what you have the right to do and what is right to do. This principle is especially important in our discussion tonight. When the rezoning of this land to IUD/PUD, although it may be permissible, the real question is whether it's the right decision for the people who already live there and around the area. As a resident living directly across from the land in question, my neighbors and I are not opposed to growth. We'd like to see it, but we are deeply concerned about the impact on our quality of life, safety, and the character of our community. Rezoning, particularly to the IUD, PUD, would bring increased traffic, increased noise, a strain on local resources. These concerns are not just theoretical. They would become part of our daily lives. Once these changes are made, they cannot be undone. We are the ones that have to live with it. I respectfully urge the committee to reconsider the voices of current residents and to explore alternatives that preserve the community's integrity. The proposed research and development park could be built in so many other places in Mason that wouldn't be a negative impact on those who live and thrive in our neighborhoods, those who choose to build a life in those neighborhoods with the ones they love and care about. In closing, I'd like to remind us all that the only thing necessary for triumph of evil is for good people to do nothing. We are here to participate and advocate for the we are here to participate and advocate for what is right, not what is just permissible. I thank you for your time and consideration. One thing I would like to bring up just on a side note, because I do live in the very front of the neighborhood, there is a wood chipping facility. I don't know what the name is because they have no sign in front of them. It would be, what I can best guess on this map is, as I'm looking at it, about to the right of it kind of goes to the right of 19 and 18. It is supposed to stop at 10 p.m. We've heard it up to 3 a.m. in the morning. It keeps us up all night. We call the non-emergency line. The police come out. They tell them to stop. They leave. It starts back up. And this is just one wood chipping company. I can't imagine all of these places here going on and what it would bring to the people around us. So I thank you for your consideration and listening. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Sir, you had, yes, sir. Yeah, thank you.
My name is Bill Swift. I live on 4045 Acadia Lane, and that happened in September of 25, so I'm new to Mason. I believe Jordy was good enough to meet with myself and a few of my neighbors earlier today to explain in more detail this plan, and she was great help to understand it better. I think, after meeting with her earlier, my house might be the one that's 450 feet away from the second building on parcel number 9 that sits closest to 42. And my request, I have a couple here of suggestions, but my request is, from the vantage point of my backyard, there is a tree line, a mature tree line, that exists at the southmost border of this plan, shares a border with the RPMI facility, a commercial facility, which is not part of this plan. We good? Okay. Okay. So, see if I can operate this mouse here. We're talking specifically, currently, in this concept drawing, there's a driveway that the farm uses right now. Comes off 42 right there, you see the arrow, travels right through here and up in here. And what I'm specifically asking for consideration on is this red line right here. It's a stand of mature trees. Don't know if it's on RPMI's property or if it's on the southernmost portion of this development. But I'm asking for consideration that that mature stand of trees and vegetation remain untouched and preserved. So it assists a lot, even if this building stays in the proposal, of limiting the sight lines at least from myself and a few of the neighbors here at the tip of the cul-de-sac of Acadia Lane. Okay, so that's one consideration I'm going to ask for. The other was addressed earlier by, I think it was Lisa, if I captured her name correctly. I too have a concern about the potential use of a data center in here. I think in this day and age of AI, a lot of these high-tech outfits that you want to attract to this business park may want to have some compute power that's going to have small data centers attached to their buildings, attached to their offices of operation. So I'd recommend further study to be done on limiting the size, not prohibiting the size. Maybe it's, you can't have a data center for exclusive use for, commercial use of data compute. But if it's within the confines of their own operations and a small enough compute power that it doesn't drain the grid, doesn't require a huge amount of water to cool the operation of that compute power, maybe it should be allowed. I'm not smart enough to sketch that out for anybody, but a data center, pure and simple, the size of what Google, Amazon, XAI is building in Memphis and whatever, don't want to see that there. Okay? The other thing that I would ask for consideration on is to add to the prohibited list is any operation that would emit any odors. I know there's some stipulations there to talk about fumes and whatnot, but There are some industries I happen to be familiar with, composite fabrication, facilities that can emit outgassing of some chemical properties that aren't too pleasant to smell. So I'd hate to see anybody set up shop in there that would be belching out something that nobody want to smell in the neighborhood. So add that to that prohibited list use. And I think that takes care of it for me. Thanks for hearing me out.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Toriano Franklin. I stay at 3011 Ambleside Drive, 2 doors down from Natalie. You already took some of these notes, so I just want to be the second person, I guess, to count to reiterate a couple things. And my wife got me prepared, so let me make sure I get everything right. So I guess just a point of clarification on a couple questions here. You mentioned this is a concept, but I want to be just clear so I can understand it. Are the lots permanent or not? Because if the lots are going to move, that means eventually a building will be there or not. So if you could just define that, make sure it's clear. I'm four doors down from Natalie. I'm on the second entrance here on Ambleside. And no, I really don't want to see an industrial building when I walk out or drive out of the road. But if it's going to happen, let's just be like really clear right now and just tell us eventually this lot will have a building. I would ask consideration, maybe 10 or 11 or one of them. Does it make sense to put it in the middle here a little bit? If that can be done, I know there's grading. I'm not that type of engineer, so I get it. But it would be just of consideration, could maybe one of those buildings be moved to another location? I think that would be something to consider for Ambleside. When you mentioned about some of the prohibited items that were discussed in that text document, you know, warehouse associated with manufacturing. I'd asked again, and yes, I am an engineer if you can't see that by now. Let's be like really, really clear what associated with manufacturing actually is, so that we assume, oh, that's just temporary warehousing for parts for 2 weeks, and now it's some odd number of size of buildings that will be permanent warehouse because there's an ongoing traffic. So let's really be clear about when it is associated with the manufacturing. And I would ask, as consideration, let's really make sure we consider the fact that I moved out there to be quiet. Let's be really clear. It's quiet. And that's really why I wanted to stay out there. It's going to be noisy now. There will be noise. I understand that. I'm not opposed to growth. Trying to check my time. I just ask that we just make sure that whoever the company that will be in one of those buildings or both, that let's make sure that we really clear about what's going to be associated so there's not too much traffic or too much noise. One of my neighbors pointed out about noxious and poisonous. I had to actually look up what noxious meant, which is interesting. Poisonous or very unpleasant. No one wants to smell anything that's unpleasant when they're in their house. Let's just be really clear about that. We don't want to smell anything noxious. So it is prohibited, but I would ask, when all the studies are done, if the studies are going to be done in a way that we can have the data and information shared with the residents in a way that they can receive this and consume it in a way that they understand. Don't put a bunch of numbers that people can't understand and measure. Let's just have it clear, consumable. Folks who don't really look at this every day know air quality is this. This is saturated in the air. You may smell this. This is not done or tested, or if there's a maintenance around testing this annually, something that will help us out. And then finally, I'm gonna reiterate the point again about data centers and other type of buildings. Let's just be clear that if we're going to put buildings in our industrial park and if they're going to drain on power, We don't want to create another situation like Avalon Farms. We don't want to have houses going out, power outages, unexpected. We don't want to drain. That's basically what I'm trying to say. So there's got to be, the summary is, let's just make sure there are the appropriate studies and that the data and information is shared specifically with the two neighborhoods that are here, and give us time to review, understand it. If there's something that somebody doesn't like, to propose it within a certain time frame, so that if we need to make any changes, it can be done so that we can all still live in a quiet, less noisy, unstinky neighborhood. That's all I got. Is that 5 minutes?
Thank you.
So I'll just speak to the concept plan part and the lot lines. So if, I'm not saying it will be, but if the concept plan were to be approved tonight, generally speaking, if someone wanted to come in and purchase, let's use lot 12 as an example, purchase lot 12 and develop it, if they are generally meeting what's shown on this concept plan, then they would just come through planning commission with the site plan, the landscape plan. That's when they do the stormwater. That's when we'd vet them. That's when they do the traffic impact study. If they wanted to come through and totally change the way that this looks, then they would have to come back through the public engagement process, and we'd have the public hearing at planning commission and city council all over again. So the concept plan is just a concept. It's a vision for how it could be laid out. You know, our consultant vetted it that, like, in terms of building size and parking, it works. If they meet it, then there isn't a public hearing, but if they don't, it could be changed, but it would have to go back through this entire process, and ultimately the public would speak on it, and then city council would vote on whether or not to approve it. Does that answer that concept plan question? So these are the current property lines. It's a little hard to see with the purple, but you can see the black. These are the current property lines. Someone could purchase two properties and consolidate the lots. They could split a lot. That would have to go through planning commission, city council as well. But yes, this is the current property lines as it stands today, January 12th, 2026. And then the other question was warehousing associated with manufacturing. So from a zoning regulatory standpoint, what that means is you couldn't have a standalone warehouse. Not to knock Amazon, but Amazon couldn't build there. What you could have is a company that produces a part, and they store that part that they've produced on their lot until it goes out to be shipped out to wherever. But they couldn't just store things without having the production there and their office there. So you will never have standalone warehousing. It would always be in association with the office and the production. And then, so that's from a very regulatory standpoint. I can turn it over to our economic development director if she wants to talk about it from an economic development perspective and what that means. But I can also hold off. I'll hold off on that, okay?
Thank you. Oh, good. And then, ma'am, yeah, if you want to come up next after he's completed, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Dieter Moeller. I'm both a resident and a business owner here in Mason. The business that I own is RH Aero Systems. We're on Innovation Way. And I'm a resident also, like I said, a longtime resident of Mason. So both of these concerns are important to me. And the reason that we located Mason back in 2009 was because we saw a very intimate working relationship with Mason, the council, and the business community, and trying to do it in a way that was also catering to the needs of the residents. And Mason, we've been here for a long time, a couple of decades now. We've always watched the city really try to make sure it's taking care of both sides of the situation. We chose Mason, and we actually have the leftmost lot. the R&D park, and because it's part of our long-term plan for a global headquarters campus for the business long-term. We like being here. Mason's a good city, and this particular park is situated, when we were talking to the city about it, they made it clear that they looked at this as a high-end park, not a heavy, somebody was talking about the wood chipping, not a wood chipper park, but this is high-tech, but also very strategic and high-end manufacturing that complements Mason at the upper end of what it's doing. And it was stated that this industrial park is being situated so that it is among, if not the highest end of industrial parks for the entire Midwest area. And that is something that appealed to us because we were looking at a lot of different places, loved the city, and decided this makes a lot of sense for us to invest long-term future. We're looking at very long-term into the future, and said the kinds of investment we're going to make here. Our neighbor on the other side is Vega, and anybody that's seen that, it is a beautiful facility. The thing that we've also done over an innovation is we've got a long-term history of working with the residents because we've got a subdivision right behind us. We're not loud. we're not stinky. I thought that those comments made a lot of sense because there is a lot of industry in various areas that are that way. I don't want that for this industrial park. Our customers, RH Aero's in the business of aerospace support equipment and services, handling customers around the world. So it's a training center. This is a center where we have the largest airlines and major military customers from around the world come in, meet with us, and talk about what we need to do in order to support them in our global facilities around the world. I don't want to be hearing noise. I don't want to be I don't want offensive smells. So I welcome the attention that's given to that. And I'm also very excited about this PUD. When you take a look at the map, except for that 10-acre area there on the northernmost part, the entire development is either in this PUD or in this I-1. The I-1 zoning that is there currently concerns me because it allows 90-foot tall buildings. It allows all kinds of industrial development that's at various levels. The thing that really excited me about this PUD development is it really is going to make sure that this isn't just, a rough industrial place. I mean, this is going to be, I think, the one of the stars of this area from industrial development. So my comment on this is we are very much in favor of this PUD because we don't want it to be rough, gritty manufacturing. What we want this to be is high-end and very friendly with the local residential community because that's what we're a part of and we want to keep that going.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am, I'm sorry. There's a miss, please. Yeah, if you don't mind. Sorry. Yep. Thank you. And then, ma'am, we'll get to you next. Thank you.
Hey, my name's Keshma Mehta. I live at 3021 Ambleside Drive, right in between Tori and Natalie. I share similar concerns to what others have raised today, but there's a few that I made a note of. And I wanted to start by saying, actually, that against mine and my husband's better nature, in 2017, we decided to move to Mason for the amazing school districts that we have, and we decided to build, which took a lot of persuading, and we found this beautiful neighborhood, Ambleside, which was in the early stages of development. Very happy, and we were hoping that would be our forever home. That being said, unfortunately, for me, there's no kind of negotiation that will make this better. So if this goes ahead, we are selling and we're moving because, like Tori said, we came here for peace and we came here, this was supposed to be our forever home. It's a beautiful neighborhood, kids are safe, they love being outside, we don't have to worry about them being safe. But anyway, I'll just go into this conscious of time. So obviously, public health and environmental impact that was kind of addressed. I know you said light manufacturing, but I feel like industrial emission is a concern. It can significantly degrade the air quality, as others have mentioned, so that is a concern of mine. The quality of life and safety, noises and vibrations, as others have said, machinery 24/7. I know there might be some ordinance on when that can start, stop, etc. We live on a very narrow, 42 is very narrow. The thought of semi-trucks as it is scares everything out of me. Even honestly, just two SUVs passing each other is quite scary on that road. So you can imagine the thought of semis going up and down there. That makes me very nervous. I have a small child. And then the economic and property considerations, for example, property value. I've spoken to so many people because I wanted to make sure I'm not just being excessive with my thoughts, and anyone I say to, hey, how would you feel if you had this beautiful industrial park opposite your house? That's a no-go. I would not move there. So we would really want to think about that, the property value and the desirability of this neighborhood as a long-term investment. Let me just get the rest of my notes. Psychosocial and mental health stresses. That's another factor to think of. Light and odor pollution. Light, a lot of people have mentioned the lights being on and glaring in or not enough light, just those issues. And I think, those were my main concerns. So hopefully that was less than 5 minutes, but I appreciate you listening. Thank you.
Thank you. Ma'am, yes.
Can you hear me? Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, Jordy Bacon. Thank you for your dedicated public service. We appreciate what you do and your excellence in what you do. But I live on Acadia Lane. I'm in Ambleside Meadows, 3626 Acadia Lane. And
Ma'am, I'm sorry. Can you state your name as well?
First name Eunice, last name Confer.
Thank you.
Daughter-in-law of a prominent architect who did a lot of city building and prominent buildings on universities and so on and so forth. Involved in buildings and zoning and so forth. I'm trying to get clarity and understand this evening. Jordy, I appreciate your explaining concept. You say you're using terms like vague, and we have a number of people who have spoken, and they're raising recommendations that they want to be assured will be addressed. So the question is, if I'm understanding this correctly, Jordy, you're explaining city planning process, and what we're looking for is the addition of these limits to this legislation. And as I understand it, you're enacting or proposing to pass legislation tonight, bringing this proposed rezoning into law. Our concerns are that that is not done before you add the limits that will give you the legal purview to manage and ensure that there is a nuisance ordinance in place, for example. The present one is dated as of 1989. I don't think it addresses this type of development across from a residential community. So with that, we want to ask that limits be added before you pass. And I believe that necessitates postponement until these various concerns are legitimately addressed, including studies probably, insurances that you've looked at traffic. You have, the limits are there to ensure density, infrastructure, those concerns are managed, the proper studies have been done. We have questions about environmental impact to existing resources, and I believe it's reasonable to ask that limits be added to see that those are all accomplished and within the law or within the guardrails of the law so that it's actually ensured. So there are a number of issues along those lines, including analysis or comprehensive data demonstrating rezoning impact to our property values. We'd like to know, have the assurance that property values will not be decreased given proximity to rail, and I don't know if anyone has brought that up, but rail infrastructure. We understand that this park is located for rail access, and we want to see a full environmental and transportation risk assessment. We want to see that done in light of the rail traffic that will be coming through, uploading and offloading. We want to see an evaluation of the capacity of emergency response services and infrastructure for industrial incidents should they occur. And we have concerns about the vagueness of the concept plan in that it does not limit scale and height and so forth. Again, the City of Mason nuisance order is a major factor and concern for us, that should be in place, guaranteeing noise control, emissions, traffic, hours of operation, and so on before the ordinance goes forward and is approved. In closing, that's what we wanted to lay before you, urging postponement actually because residents have a number of issues. And the gentleman who spoke about coming in as a business owner, I don't know if you live on Ambleside. I don't know if your residence is facing this new manufacturing hub, or if you're in Avalon, where people are having the impacts already on or related to electricity or drains on data and so on. So we ask that you give us considerable consideration in light of these concerns and that the limits are added before it's passed. Finally, I do want to acknowledge Jordy. We have no doubt she brings commendable talent and skill to the office, and we appreciate her service in city planning, and we look forward to working with and in cooperation with the efforts to enhance and see economic development progress in Mason. One other quick question. The territory above or...
I'm sorry, you reached the end of your allotted time. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Please. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Bacon.
Sorry, I was just going to answer a couple of questions there about the concept and additional conditions. So yes, this is a concept plan. It is a vision. Part of, you can't require someone to do a traffic impact study if you don't know who is going to be on the site, the size of the property, the number of trips that they're generating. So that's why this is a concept. And once there is an end user for one of these sites and they do have to do that detailed site plan, they are going to look at grading. They are going to look at if there's any wetlands on the property. They're going to look at stormwater. And then we would require a traffic impact study at that time. but we can't do a traffic impact study. We don't know who the end user is. So that's why this is, again, a broad vision and not that detailed site plan. That part comes later if this was approved. Just to touch on the noise ordinance really quickly, we'd heard concerns about that before, so Kurt and I did some research on the noise ordinance today. Our noise ordinance is comparable and actually in many cases more restrictive than surrounding communities. We looked at Lebanon, Deerfield Township, and Westchester. And our noise ordinance does have specific limitations on noise issuances from industrial properties and the sound of noise in residential properties and daytime and nighttime operations. So it is all listed there. And then, additional conditions, right. So what Planning Commission recommended to City Council tonight is a plan with 5 additional conditions based on staff, or based on resident comments. If there are other things that City Council has heard tonight and they want to add additional conditions beyond that, you are more than welcome to do so. So to use Mr. Kuznar as an example, if you want to require additional landscaping along that stretch of US 42, that's a condition that could be added this evening. So any specific conditions like that that you'd want to include, you're more than welcome to.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name's John Groom. I reside in building number 5, so I'm actually the president and CEO of Vega Americas. As someone who's invested quite a large sum of money, so we started our project back in 2020 when we actually started negotiating with the city to find an optimal piece of land for ourselves. One of the things we communicated to them was one of our philosophies, which is called auf lange Sicht. And auf lange Sicht says making the right decisions for multiple generations. So when you look at what we were trying to achieve with our property, and so far we've invested $110 million in buildings, and we've invested an additional $50 million with infrastructure inside our building. Now, we are a high-tech manufacturing center. We produce equipment that goes on submarines, and one of our large customers is the US Navy, so we produce all the level sensors that actually goes on their fleet. We are so in automotive industry, pharmaceuticals, so we produce level pressure and radiometric sensors for continuous level, point level, and so forth. Now, I can tell you, dealing with the city is not the easiest thing, okay? So we had a lot of choices where we could go, where we wanted to build. And just as you are a resident of this, looking at how you would like to protect your investment, so am I. I'm also a resident, and I'm glad to be called the benchmark, okay? One of the proudest things that the city has said to us on numerous occasions is, John, you've made it very difficult to sell building number 2, okay? Because you can realize that no one would be building a traditional industrial facility across from our world-class facility, which is not the global headquarters of our organization. That's based in the Black Forest in Germany, but we are for North and South America. What we do have, and for me, we've got to look at progression. So we're all a little bit afraid about change, but we have to look at what progression looks like. And for me, looking at our business, we didn't need to choose Mason. Mason has got great values, great structure, great organization, great systems. We have another location that's based in Cincinnati, in Oakley. We have 19 acres that sit in Oakley. We do have a second production facility for our sister company. But you've got to ask, why did we choose Mason? Mason's really where you want to live. Mason's where you want to have your family, and Mason's where you want to send your children to school. Now, I think that these things can coexist with each other. So I understand that you're fearful of these dirty industrial facilities. And I can assure you, if we build those dirty industrial facilities, we won't hire people. Not in Mason. Sorry, but the labor costs of the quality of the people that we have in Mason is too expensive for us to have any kind of robust rust infected industrial noisy facility. That's not happening. There's much cheaper locations for us to be able to go and build those kind of facilities. And those people who were concerned about data centers, I don't think you have to worry too much about a data center, because you have no ability to bring that amount of power, manage the noise, and control that environment. Those data centers will be built in much more cost-effective locations, of which this is not going to be one of those. So for me, as someone who's gone through the phases of building with the city, I can assure you that they have your interest at heart. When we looked at this, and when you look at how many plants you got to install, how you manage the lights. So I heard that there's light pollution. We will talk a little bit about that with you. But the lights are restricted in height. The lights in our parking lot have got motion sensors on it. So when it gets nighttime and there's no movement within the parking lot, we actually diminish the amount of light that we are projecting into the parking lot. So those are all restrictions. And to me, those are responsible restrictions. Those are all guidelines which are much easier somewhere else. But if you want to build a world-class, and I think the park's name says it all, it's a research and development parkway. It's not La Rosa's Pizza Factory, okay? So we've got to admit that. It's not some chemical plant that's going to be going up in this facility. What we want is we want to drive those children that go and see the STEM submarine learnings. We want those people to come and work for us. We want our children to come and work for us. And I think we have a great opportunity to have a world-class research and development parkway that will allow manufacturers like ourselves, high-tech manufacturing, and it will allow other high-tech manufacturers to be very successful. You've driven past our building and you haven't realized, but we sit with 13 weeks of production stock in our building. So you can do it responsibly. You can integrate your supply chain into your building. We collect our product only once a day. So we have one shipment out of our factory once a day, so we can limit the amount of traffic that we have coming in and out of our building. We also have, if you look at our starting times, between 6 and 9 o'clock in the morning, we have
Mr. Groom,
flexible
I'm
starting
sorry.
time. No problem. Flexible starting time. Just from being a customer who lived under your restrictions, I just ask you guys, have a little bit of faith, have trust in the city. They are exceptionally responsible. And like they will protect my investment, I'm very sure they'll be protecting yours. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Hello. My name is Barry R. It's A-H-R. And I live at 4015 Acadia Lane. I've got a question, but I also had a suggestion. I don't know. This thing works. There seems to be a lot of concern, which I can understand, about this. Well, I'm sorry. I clicked, I guess, something. About this one building here. Now, my wife and I have a concern because when we bought this, our back of our yard will be facing that, where we put in a swimming pool, which was quite expensive. We were never told the city of Mason owned that property. We were led to believe by MI Homes that it was going to be farmland. And we thought, this is great. My wife had lived on a farm at one time in her life. It's just, this is great. This is what you're looking for. A nice open area. But anyway, I know you're not going to change that and say, okay, we'll just let it be farmland. I'm realistic. But this building, which is awfully close, why can't it be moved? It's not a large building. We have additional land here. I don't know what the topography is, but you could move, you're trying to keep some green space, move some of the green space over here to shield this, and move the building or some of the parking over this way, and just move the building up. Or, I don't know, again, I don't know what the land is like over here. There's a possibility it could go there. Because this is relatively close to myself and to some of the other people that have come here today. The other question I have, so that was the one question, can it be moved? Or can it even just be rotated? And the parking go over here? And again, put maybe a little more, green space there, trees in other words. Something that hasn't been talked about, it was mentioned briefly, I have a real concern about the traffic, what it's going to be like on 42. It's not a wide road, as somebody earlier said. I have visions of a big truck with a flat metal on it and a tractor, bulldozer on the back of it, trying to go down that road when I'm trying to go in the other direction. I don't think it's going to work out real well. I also have concern if everybody works till about 5 o'clock. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be several hundred people working here. It's not a small development at all. I know I saw some paperwork earlier from meetings back in November where when I added it up, it was suggesting how many people could work in the different buildings. I think it came up with over 500, which is 500 cars coming out at maybe between 4 and 5 o'clock at night. How are we going to handle the traffic? I think 42 is going to have to be widened. Where are you going to take the land from? Are you going to cut into Ambleside? Or are you going to reduce the 100-foot frontage over on this side? That's my question. Thank you.
I can answer the first part. So the topography on this property, if you've ever been out there, is unique to say the least, and challenging. So the larger areas of green space that you see on the plan are that way because the topography is so challenging that the likelihood of putting a building there is limited. With that said, in terms of shifting this building, that's absolutely something if City Council wants to make some conditions on. And then I'm going to turn over to Kurt on the traffic on 42. But before I do that, again, I will just reiterate, this is a concept plan. If Lot 9 were to develop, they would have to do a traffic impact study, taking into consideration the existing traffic as well as their proposed traffic based on number of employees, times of day. They would have to do traffic counts. And then based on what that traffic impact study said, construct any of those improvements. But I'll let you talk about 42.
Yeah, I don't think I have much to add. The traffic impact study would be warranted, and if there's improvements needed on 42, they'd be required to build them. When you do a traffic impact study, it's because you have, it could be generally it's because it's a commercial development that has a lot of trip generation, what we call trip generation, like a gas station where people are going and filling up before or after work. And so what the traffic impact does is it sees what impact you have on the background traffic and the roadway network, and those impacts have to be offset. So if you're causing backups at an intersection, you may have to do intersection improvements, or if it's turn lane warranted, you may have to extend an existing turn lane that's not long enough. So the impact study studies what impacts you need to offset with your development.
I'm sorry. Yeah, ma'am, go ahead, and then sir, right after she's ready. Yep, thank you.
Hello and good evening. Appreciate having an opportunity to speak. My name is Tina Mendoza. I live at 3020 Ambleside Drive. Thank you, members of Mason City Council. Congratulations to those who are new members, and thank you to our mayor as well. So I'm here to speak about the proposed reordinance, and I will keep my piece brief since many of my other fellow residents and friends have spoken to several of the issues. So while the city's comprehensive plan has long identified this corridor as a potential business park area, the scale and industrial nature of this proposal raises serious community concerns. We respectfully ask the council to postpone and amend this rezoning to ensure the development aligns with Mason's comprehensive plan, protects nearby neighborhoods, and supports public health, safety, and welfare. Point 1, residential property values. Residents ask that city demonstrate through analysis and comparable data that this rezoning will not diminish nearby property values or interfere with existing residential development. This data should be shared publicly before approval. Point 2, environmental transportation safety risks. Given the site's proximity to rail infrastructure and U.S. Route 42, we urge the city to complete a full environmental and transportation risk assessment. Increased rail traffic could involve hazardous materials. Please note recent derailments such as 2025, December 30th, the Kentucky incident where 31-car pileup resulted in molten sulfur leaking from trains, and residents were told to shelter in place or evacuate. Please also note 2024 East Palestine disaster, highlighting the importance of preparedness. The site's scale and proposed use will generate concentrated peak hour traffic, delivery trucks, and service vehicles adjacent to family neighborhoods. Route 42 was built in the 1920s and was not designated for the modern freight and commuter traffic. We request, as I know that other members have spoken to this as well, a traffic study. Certainly you can anticipate that with the proposed concept plan and with the 19 buildings, we will have massive amounts of traffic, industry, development over a period of years. How many years is it going to take to occupy those buildings, and how much traffic and construction are we going to have to live through and be at risk for as well? Noise and nuisance ordinance. I appreciate you speaking to that. We would appreciate a copy of that nuisance order enclosed in the public records for review. By my review, that 1989 nuisance order does not adequately address industrial expansion or mixed zoning near homes. Comprehensive plan alignment. The 2010 comprehensive plan designates this area primarily for business park and public institutional use, not heavy industry. We ask for an updated land use maps and renewed public engagement process similar to the original comprehensive plan steering committee developed in 2010, where you solicited over 200 members, residents of Mason, to ensure that a vision really spoke to the planning that Mason's residential growth and community desired and deserved. I would also say compatibility and design standards. Because the proposed development directly borders residential neighborhoods, please consider applying larger setbacks, stronger landscaping, and buffers up to 1,000 feet per Ohio IPUD guidelines. 100 feet is not adequate. And facade designs that minimize industrial visual and noise impact. Please require clear operational hours and enforce no detectable odor standards at the property line. And please incorporate sound barriers and traffic calming features to maintain residential safety and comfort. And finally, company vetting and accountability. For any businesses utilizing hazardous materials, we urge the city to please require a full disclosure of EPA compliance records and safety plans. Please verify that any pending litigation or environmental violations are resolved before occupancy. Enforce enhanced environmental and safety standards as ongoing conditions of approval, and please make sure that you prohibit sexually oriented businesses in this district, currently permitted under Mason's I-1 Light Industrial District. We also I say in closing that Mason has a proud history of responsible development as seen along Innovation Way and Western Road Corridor. By taking time to fully study, amend, and align this rezoning with Mason's comprehensive plan and community feedback, the city can continue to grow responsibly, balancing innovation with livability. We respectfully urge the council to please postpone and amend this rezoning until these concerns are addressed, mitigation measures are clearly documented, and residents have a transparent opportunity to review the final plan in clear, understandable language. Thank you for your time and for your commitment to a safe, family-oriented neighborhood. Looking forward to what we can do in Mason. I would please ask if anyone in this room is in agreement with these concerns and would like to see Mason City Council postpone and amend this ordinance. Please stand or raise your hand. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Sir, please.
Hi, my name is Jim Davis, 3377 Avalon Trail. Many of you have concerns, very valid concerns of the development. I've worked with Jordy for the last year or so, but prior to that with Steve and Kurt, when Vega was being talked about. And then recently with John, this company, Vega is a benchmark. We are so blessed to have the Vega organization as the first going in, because indeed they have set the benchmark. Being part of the Avalon Trail, we had 4 residents meeting with Jordy, Steve, and discussing getting these points clarified, getting the setback and the building height and all of that stuff. Personally, the industrial park, the I-1, is very troublesome to me. You know, somebody mentioned sexually oriented businesses. I don't want them in my backyard, but a PUD limits that. You know, we have this plot of land with Vega and others that are going to go on it, but around it is all this industrial, this I-1. Mason has no control over that. Little control. Any type of business virtually any type of business can go in there. With the industrial PUD, you're going to have Vega-like businesses. And I got to tell you, this is going to happen. The development is going to happen. It might be a 30-year plan, but it will happen. I bought my house 17 years ago, and I knew that in 2000, this was going to be an industrial park. But when it started going over to more research and development, that was a bonus, because I thought that with R&D, values are going to stay up. It's not going to be degraded because of the industrial stigma, right? We have a research and development park. I walk past Vega virtually daily, and I am thankful that that building looks the way that it looks. The people are great, the organization is well-run, and they look out for us. I know the guy directly. I've talked with him numerous times. They want the best out of the residents. I believe that Mason, if they hold true to the covenants of the industrial PUD like they did with Vega, you're going to have a successful development in here. Going back to, I was one of the 4 residents of Avalon that met with Jordy and Steve. I would urge you to move forward with some adjustments. The buffer zone at the bottom of 42, very valid point. Widening 42, probably going to have to happen. How's it going to happen? I would put a note in there and make that happen, figure out where that land's going to come from. Very valid points from these folks. But I think we want to get away from the I-1 designation. Move forward with the PUD, make adjustments to these concerns, but I think that getting that PUD in place and documented moving forward is going to be our first step. That's all I got.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak on this ordinance? Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. Oh, sorry.
My name is Barb Haga. I live at 5219 Spire Oaks Drive. I'm a Mason homeowner and a mother of 4. I'm also an engineer and the operations manager at Six Stigma. The owner wanted to be here tonight, here for this, but is traveling, so I'm here tonight to represent our company and read a letter directly from him. So, dear City of Mason Mayor and City Council, I am writing to express my strong support for the proposed planned unit development, PUD, for the Mason Research and Development Park, and to share the reasons Council's consideration is important for our company, Six Stigma. We own one of the properties in the PUD and will soon start construction of our headquarters. At Six Stigma, we research and develop manufacturing processes for aircraft components. We use robots and advanced CNC machines to manufacture intricate parts that go into jet engines and rockets. For our long-term success in Mason, it is essential to be located within an R&D park environment that attracts companies of similar caliber and technical sophistication. The predictability and rigor introduced by the proposed PUD directly support this need. These higher standards not only protect the character of the park, but they also provide greater certainty and security for companies like Six Stigma, making long-term capital investments. The decision to locate in Mason followed an extensive site search across the region. Mason's R&D park emerged as our top choice due to its proximity to other advanced technology and aerospace-related companies, the quality of the surrounding development, and the city's demonstrated commitment to thoughtful, future-focused planning such as this PUD. We are building and investing in Mason because the site and environment matter. We have customers from around the world, and we need a place to showcase our technology and host visitors. During our discussions with Mason, it was clear Mason is seeking out high-tech businesses, and we are excited to be part of this park. As a resident of Mason, we understand the concerns of continued development in Mason. We believe this PUD improves Mason. Modern manufacturing and sleek machines and robots run by computers. We need high-paying jobs in Mason and more companies like Six Sigma where our kids can go for summer internships. For these reasons, I support the proposed Mason R&D Park PUD for approval. Sincerely, Edwin Gasparaj, President, Six Sigma. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir in the back, yes. Yes.
My name's Greg Gamble. I live at 3655 Silver Queen Court. As you spoke earlier, you said you're treating everyone the same. Lots 2, 3, 17, and 5, which is already Vega, are limited to 2 stories, 40 feet. Why can't we do the same with 9 through 12?
So we'd heard height concerns at the public hearing at Planning Commission. So staff went back and we looked at the distance of the proposed buildings to the neighboring properties. As I mentioned, the Ambleside Meadows homes that are closest to lots 9 through 12 range from 450 to 600 feet away from those buildings. And that's going to include the buffer that Ambleside has, US 42, and then that eventual proposed buffer for the PUD. Given that distance and the separation, we didn't recommend reducing the height. For Avalon Farms, those homes were significantly closer. The closest home was about 150 feet away from lot 17. Because of that, we did propose to reduce the height to 40 feet, which is what the I-1 zoning district has. Just as a point of clarification, Vega is a little bit over 40 feet. I think it's about 42 feet.
Thank you.
So again, this is a concept. Properties would have to be graded to be pad ready. So to that point where Yes, so the question was, can we take into consideration current elevations of the site? So specifically speaking to building 2 on the plan, I know that that was brought up that there's a large mound there. The reality is no one is going to build a building on top of a 30-foot mound. That's not going to work. So that site would be graded down to become pad ready to then build a property. So you're not going to have a 30-foot mound and then a 40-foot building on top of it. You're going to grade the site and then have a 40-foot building. So again, this is just a concept plan, and when that site develops, they will be required to calculate stormwater. They will need to detain that somewhere on the R&D park, and they'll need to meet quality and quantity standards. Kurt, I can look at you if there's anything I'm missing about stormwater. Okay.
Thank you. Ma'am, yeah, if you can come up and speak at the microphone, but out of respect for everybody here, I want to make sure everybody's had an opportunity to speak who wanted a chance to speak. Yes, ma'am. Oh.
Hello, my name's Tara Hay, and I reside at 3826 Normandy Court. So I have a lot of the same concerns as other people in Ambleside Meadows with noise, odors, lighting, traffic, and all of those things. But I do ask that just with the conditions being put in, when these parcels are developed, there is going to be a need for 42 to be widened. And if you look at where parcel 9 is, I mean, there's already just the 100-foot setback. And when it needs to be widened, that's going to make that very small space that's there by that front building in parcel 9 even smaller. And I guess the city could put in for eminent domain and then force the road to be widened into Ambleside Meadows HOA property. So I just would like a condition, or at least to be considered by the council before voting for the rezoning, that that buffer includes the the potential need for 42 to be widened and maybe increase that area, because with that 100-foot setback and then a road being widened, that makes that even narrower, which is like one of the closest spots to neighborhoods besides Avalon. And then just the other thing I have a question of is has there been studies done that City of Mason's power grid can support this? Like, how will that happen? Because we have a lot of people in our neighborhood who work from home. They can't, it's their livelihood. They can't have power outages and then not be able to do their jobs or connect Wi-Fi and do their video conferences. So just questions about the power grid and how that's supported. And then, yeah, that's about it. Thanks.
Thank you.
I'll take power, I'll let Kurt take roads. So Duke provides power to the City of Mason, so anybody who develops in Mason, both potentially in the R&D park or anywhere in Mason, has to coordinate with Duke on power to the site. Similarly, Greater Cincinnati Waterworks provides water. They have to coordinate with GCWW on water to the site. So anytime, again, not just in the R&D park, anywhere in Mason someone wants to develop, they have to coordinate with Duke and GCWW and the city. And we do a pre-construction meeting, and we review site construction drawings for utilities before we break ground to ensure that they can meet their utility needs. In terms of 42 widening and right-of-way, Kurt, I'll let you start.
Yeah, I was just going to say the thoroughfare plan calls US 42 as a major arterial roadway. So when the Ambleside Meadows subdivision came in, they were required to dedicate half of that 100-foot width. So 50 feet of right-of-way along 42 already exists in case the road needs to be widened in the future. And that's without any kind of acquisition from the Ambleside Meadows HOA property. And then when the other side of the road gets developed, the same thing would happen. Another 50 feet would have to be dedicated to meet the thoroughfare plan. So if there was a widening needed, it could be done to one side of the roadway, but reality is that there's adequate right-of-way to put a 5-lane road through there if need be in the future. And keep in mind, this is, as somebody said, a 30-year plan. We had the property on 741 for over 20 years before Vega even looked at it for the first time. I think we owned it for 20 or 25 years. So this a 30-year plan may be optimistic. You know, I think if you developed every one of these buildings overnight, we would have a serious traffic issue. But the reality is these are going to happen one at a time. We wish we could have 19 more Vegas in the city, but it's not going to happen quickly. We're very selective about what properties or who we would sell property to.
And just to add on to Kurt's point about the right-of-way, so let's use Lot 9 as an example. Someone purchases that as part of that site plan process. They're going to have to dedicate that 50 feet of right-of-way to the city. That 100-foot setback is going to start from the edge of the right-of-way. So it's the right-of-way wouldn't encroach in the setback. It would be the right-of-way and then the setback.
And one more thing I'll add is just as far as traffic goes, Ambleside Meadows has, I think, 314 lots. We generally use 10 trips a day generated by each house. So approximately 3,000 trips were generated on US 42 with that subdivision. So just as we do look at residential and commercial development when we look at traffic. So.
We're getting close to 2 hours. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. Is there anyone who wants to speak that has not spoken or has something different, new to say? I think we've heard a lot of arguments. Yes, ma'am. I know you've already spoken, but if you have a quick question. Awesome. Yeah. No, thank you. Yeah. Yes, please. Yeah.
Eshma Mehta, 3021 Ambleside Drive. The clarifying question I had is, so right now this is an R1 zone, is that correct? And that means that it's either
No, so the bulk of it is zoned I-1 light industrial. It's only 10 acres adjacent to Avalon that is R1. The bulk of this property is currently zoned industrial.
Oh, okay, that was my only question. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Yes, ma'am, yes, please, yeah, go ahead. I don't think we have, does anybody else want to speak that has not spoken yet? Okay, yes, ma'am, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, if you have a couple more questions. Yes, please, yeah, thank you.
Let's see, I guess I was concerned about, the power outages that we've been having in Mason without any storms or anything. I don't know if council's aware of that. It's not only in Avalon Trail, but other areas of Mason. And so, if, you do studies, it doesn't matter if you're not even meeting the need yet. And then the other part was, the traffic is backed up on 741, and I don't know if council's aware of that, during the events at Kings Island, and it just sits there. We can't even get out of Avalon Trail now, let alone with development. So, I mean, there's trucks hitting their Jake brakes, trying to get around into that roundabout, and they don't slow down, and there's no enforcement. So, I don't know. If you're not enforcing it now, how are you going to enforce it later? That's my only question. I got more, but.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing at 9:21. All right. Oh. Ma'am, I'm sorry, I missed you. And we had, how do I do that? To reopen the, sorry, ma'am, I missed your hand being raised. I apologize.
Well, how about,
Can I-
how about we do this? You didn't just close the public hearing at 9:21. If there was one additional person, let's let them speak, and then we will close the public hearing after that.
My wife doesn't listen to things I say either, so we should do that here also. It's perfect.
3626 Acadia Lane again, Eunice Confer, and it's not directly related to the rezoning, but I had a question for council. Bunnell Road, as it runs into 42, the east side of Bunnell along 42, who owns that currently? Has it been annexed to Mason, or anyone know?
There's a small piece where it's near 42 that's part of Mason. Most of Bunnell Road is in Union Township. So I don't know which portion you're talking about.
All right, so are there plans to annex additionally going eastward? And if so, are there any plans to develop industrial manufacturing R&D into that area? So further east on 42? Just a question.
East on, you're talking, I don't know what you mean by, east side of 42?
If you are traveling east on 42 beyond Ambleside Meadows,
Okay.
coming up to Bunnell, heading toward Lebanon, the question is, that land on the east side of Bunnell, as it borders 42.
This area up here? Is this where you're talking?
Yes. And then beyond that, are there plans for annexation?
West of that? You're talking here and
Yes,
west
and
of that? Okay.
Well, and continuing east on 42, even above it.
through here?
You said
That's-
it's presently
That's
Union
outside the
Township.
city, so that's outside the city.
We were previously Union Township. So the progression is annexation along the 42 corridor. So just wondering about that progression of land and planned use, but
It's outside the city.
Okay.
Yeah.
presently.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to speak in relation to this ordinance right now? Okay, I'm actually going to, yeah, I'm really going to do it this time, I promise. I'm going to close the public hearing at 9:24. 9:24. Okay. Thank you. All right, so item 10 is ordinance 2025-96, second reading. Motion to read by title only, please.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Right. Any opposed? Mr. Forbes.
Amending the zoning code and zoning map of the city of Mason, Ohio to provide for the rezoning of approximately 528.20 acres from R1 Single Family Residential, Industrial PUD, Industrial Planned Unit Development, and I1 Light Industrial to Industrial PUD, Industrial Planned Unit Development, with approval of the Concept Planned Unit Development Plan generally located north of Weldon Drive between State Route 741 and US 42, Mason Research and Development Park.
Oops, sorry. Thank you. Kurt, did you have anything? Sorry, Mr. Seiler, did you have anything to add at this point? Okay. Motion to adopt.
So moved. Second.
Council discussion.
Mayor.
Yes, please.
Okay, I have a couple questions that came out of some of the discussion, and then I have a few comments I want to make. And I don't know if anybody can answer this, but I'm curious now, what is this wood chipping company near Building 19? That's not in the city of Mason, correct? Or do you know anything
Yeah,
about it?
there's some of the property, so if you look right here, let me grab the map. This property right here that's outside the white line, it's within the city corporation limits, but we don't own the property. And there's a mulching operation that happens on that property.
I guess I'm not familiar where that is. So if there's a problem now, they're talking about the noise situation, is there some way that we can help, like, intervene with this and find out why we can't get that noise taken care of?
Yeah.
And that,
Yeah, we can talk with the chief. I know that they've been called before and been out there, but I wasn't aware that it went till 3 in the morning. I don't know if police department is.
right, I think there's something we can do,
Yeah.
try to
Yep.
do about that now. And then
For sure.
also, do we have any idea why the power keeps going out in Avalon? I know you may not, but is there a reason for that out there?
Yeah.
Most recent, I live in Apple, I put in a generator because it went out. The most recent was tree falling on main line. Than what it was 12 years ago before they. But it still is lucky to have a generator. So if they have it, then others that don't have a generator.
Sir, I'm sorry. I really appreciate your comments. We've got to limit. This was a public discussions. Yeah, sorry. No, it's okay. I appreciate it. Oops. But we don't want to have back and forth between council and residents at this
And
point.
this
Sorry.
is
No,
another
it's okay.
question, I don't know, is there anything that we can, I guess, is that a Duke situation, a Duke problem? Like, we can ask them about what's going on out there and try to help the situation out here? I mean, if it's more than just trees falling down, as a question, I mean, at least try to look into that to
Yeah,
help,
we can.
to help
Yeah.
these residents.
I think Ambleside had an outage here recently. It took our water treatment plant out of power as well. So, yeah, there has been some recently.
I know one house I used to live out here in Mason, that my power went out every time the wind blew, and it was because there was a bad transformer behind my house. It was something very simple. It took them a long time to come fix it, but this might be something we can fix. And then also the gentleman, Mr. Swift, I think you said you were wondering about on the RPI property, the the tree buffer at the bottom, I forget what the question was. You wanted to know, did RPI own that, I think? Do we know the answer to that?
So we don't for sure. I suspect that it's on RPI's property because our consultant did leave anything in dark green as existing vegetation for the most part on this plan. So I suspect it is on RPI's property. If City Council wanted to add a condition for an increased landscape buffer there, that could potentially resolve it, but I don't know.
But if it's on RPI property, we can't tell them to do anything with it, correct?
Correct. And we had a question from the audience, what is RPI? I'm not sure. It's a commercial business in the city of Mason that just happens to have a tree line.
Yeah, okay. I think that was pretty much most of my questions. One thing, I guess a few comments I have. First of all, I want to say I'm starting my 13th year on council, and I have heard so many times where people were told by their realtors when they were buying their house that, oh, you've got a beautiful vacant lot next door to you. It's always going to be like that. You won't ever have to worry about that. And I just want to say I apologize for that realtors, that they do that, because they have no control of what's going to happen with a vacant piece of property that's next to your property. And you can almost be assured at some point it's going to be developed, because whoever owns it has a right to do that. The best thing we can do here on Mason City Council is to try to make the best restrictions possible so that you don't get something next to you that you don't want, which is what we're trying to do tonight. And this I-1 light industrial is not what you want us to keep here as zoning. Absolutely do not, because we will have very little control what could go possibly next to your homes. This is changing it to the industrial plan unit development. The IND PUD is a much better zoning for what we want to do. We do want high end. Our economic development director, she is very particular about what she invites to come into the city of Mason. And as we heard from John and also from Dieter, they absolutely don't want those kinds of businesses coming in next to their homes. I'm going to call it your home. And if you ever get a chance to go and visit the Vega place, please do it, because it is an absolutely beautiful facility. And I'm just saying this. I know it's very frustrating. I think the best thing we can do is pass this tonight and worry about what's going to come in next. Vice Mayor Gibson and I serve on the Planning Commission. Every little project that's going to come in, as Jordy said, is going to go to Planning Commission. You guys will have an opportunity to come speak again about what that particular project is going to be. If we start putting all these restrictions right now on this, it doesn't make sense, because we don't even know what's going to go in here. And as Kurt said, it might be 20, 30 years before you even see the next thing. Now, I'm not saying that's definitely going to happen, but we here at the City of Mason, I can tell you this, we rely on staff to tell us and what is the best situation in these kinds of projects, especially when it comes to changing zoning. I have never, ever thought that staff was misleading me as a council member. We do have a reputation of being a pain in the butt to work with businesses when they come here, but that's why we look the way we do. And that's why we're very proud of the way Mason is, because we are very particular. I empathize with all of you. I really appreciate all of you coming and speaking tonight, but I really think that we are not doing you a favor if we do not pass this zoning tonight for you, to protect what you have around your property. If we leave it as it is, there's no telling what you're going to come in there. So I personally support this particular zoning change tonight, and I want you to come to Planning Commission if there's something going to get put in next to where you are and you don't like it, you want changes. Believe me, we're going to listen to you. I promise you. Ma'am, you'll have to.
Ma'am, I'm sorry. Ma'am, I'm sorry. Yeah, we can't have public. Yeah. Any other council discussion?
I have a question, Mayor.
Councilmember Singh.
Jordy, I just have a question. So with the PUD, I understand that it creates more restrictions, right? Better restrictions for the city. It's not allowing as much with the I one. Can you speak to kind of what our standards are with relation to the mitigation of light pollution? I know Vega talked about responsible mitigation with the motion lights and stuff in the parking lot, but is there anything in particular that we have as a city of Mason that speaks to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So our zoning code across the board, outside of PUDs, requires 0-foot candles at the property perimeter. What that means, lighting is measured in candles. So if you have lights on your property, that light can't spill over outside of your property lines. The only exception to that is driveways, because we want people to be able to safely enter and exit a property, and we don't want accidents. Other than that, across the city, 0-foot candles at the property perimeter. The other thing that we require across the city is for lights to be cut off. And so what that means is if you have a parking lot light, we want them to be shielded and facing down. So again, they're not spilling out, it's on that parking lot. And then in addition to that, is what Mr. Groom was sort of alluding to, the PUD, you can see the last sentence here, the parking lot lights are limited to 25 feet in height. And that was intentionally done to be sensitive to the surrounding communities. So you're gonna have a max 25-foot tall light in the parking lot, it's gonna be cut off, and then you have that 0-foot candle at the property perimeter.
Thank you.
Councilmember Bennett, go ahead.
Just a quick question on that. I don't understand about candles. I can still see a light even if it's at 0-foot candles at the perimeter. So it doesn't mean that it's not visible, correct? It just
Correct.
means that it's not actually illuminating past the property line, correct?
Correct. So the
Okay.
candle is not, the closer you are to a light, the brighter the candle, because it's going to be illuminating. And then as the further away you get, if it's not illuminating, it's going to be 0-foot candles. But yes, to your point, you're going to see a street light, on a straight road a mile away.
Right.
It's not lighting where you are right now, but it is there.
But it's visible because
Correct.
it's light. Okay. Thank you.
Any other councilors? Yeah. Councilmember Swami?
I just have a comment. I think I want to thank all of you for coming in and sharing your concerns. I think a lot of it is valid, but like Barb said, I think there is going to be an opportunity for you all to stay engaged and make sure that the right kind of projects get done. So I think this is just, the way I understand it, is just a framework that helps the city to have a little bit more tools to restrict what can go in there. And so if some of your concerns that you have, you would have an opportunity to express them when more details are available in terms of what exactly will go into these lots. So I just want to share that.
Thank you. Councilmember Burrow, sorry. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everyone as well and comment that I've been on both sides of this. I moved into Mason in '01 into Sunset Ridge, and behind us was a beautiful tree farm. I knew it wouldn't be a tree farm forever, but when the design finally came, the specific design, it had 7 patio homes right behind me. And I engaged with Planning Commission, and Councilmember Spaeth was correct. When you show up at those meetings and you're able to talk specifics, the city worked with me and we ended up with something. It's not the best, but it's a lot better than what was proposed. I've also been on the building side of this. I built a warehouse in Pennsylvania, and I can tell you, it was like 90 permits that we had to go through. So the concerns that were raised tonight about studies, totally get them. When those proposals come in and it's time to build, I can assure you, that is when the permit question, the studies, all that, it will get addressed. There's no way that they'll be able to build without that. And again, the Planning Commission meetings are your opportunity to come and talk about those specific things. And until we have that, it's conceptual. So I agree with my fellow council members that we need to pass this for your benefit, as well as for companies like Vega, who have leaned in and want to make sure that their investment pays off long-term as well. So thank you.
Councilmember Bennett?
Thank you. I wanted to speak to a couple of concerns that were raised that I don't feel like we maybe responded to yet. So I've heard a lot of people comment about rail, and this is something that I asked about earlier today. It turns out the current railroad line is being used to transport lumber, resin, frozen foods, ketchup, and other materials to existing Mason companies. The rail line is a Class C rail, which requires trains to travel at less than 10 miles per hour. So the other thing is the trend is away from rail. So there are no plans to increase the class to allow for faster or heavier rail cars. And none of the businesses that are currently in the R&D park or would be projected to would be making a decision based on rail access. That's just not what people are looking at right now. So I just wanted to share that. Also, I know there have been some questions about the maps and updating those. So the city does a comprehensive planning process episodically. Would that be a good word? So yeah, we haven't done one since 2010. I expect we'll start talking about that soon. I can't tell you what soon means, but we are due for one. And at that time, then we will have very rigorous public comment hearing sessions. There will be detailed work to gather community input. And at that time, in that process, the maps will be updated. So it's one of those things that it's a pretty large endeavor to do. And so we do it every so many years. Hopefully I haven't explained anything incorrectly there. I did also want to reinforce, that was really helpful when you explained that the 50-foot right-of-way is in addition to the setback. So it's actually 150 feet, if I'm understanding that correctly. If we agree to this particular PUD along 42, it would be the 100-foot setback plus a 50-foot right-of-way?
From the center of the road.
From the center of the road, okay. And that right-of-way has already been designated, so, with the neighborhood as well. So that's there, that's what it's for. It's for road widening. Also, Kurt clarified for me that if the traffic study for whoever purchases a particular piece of property says, yes, you're going to have to widen the road, that company has to pay for it. So that's where the money comes from. The land is already there because it is right-of-way, but they will have to do it if the traffic studies say this is required. I think those were all the things that I kind of highlighted that I wanted to make sure that we clarified. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor, did you have anything? I had just a few comments, and actually I appreciate council's comments and questions because that answered most of mine. I do have one question that wasn't brought up, and we talked about a little bit of the maybe semi-traffic that could potentially be on 42. In regards to like engine braking, do we have anything that, do we have anything that prevents engine braking on 42 for some?
In a few areas of the city, we've added signs that say no engine braking, so that if that's something council want to look at, we could put a sign out there. I haven't heard that complaint. I don't know if.
In yours, I believe our ordinances, forbid engine braking throughout the city.
Yeah.
And we've used signage, but I've not heard the complaint in many years.
Sure.
So
Okay.
we could address that.
Yeah, I was just curious on, it doesn't seem like there's that much traffic yet. It's something on there. And I think the rest of it, council covered. So I appreciate that. I want to make some personal comments. So I live in Ambleside Meadows. So the concern, and I guess first and foremost, and I know council has said this as well, but I just want to say thank you to everybody who came out, who raised their concerns and brought those up to us. And it's important. This is part of the process, and we need to hear from you. And a lot of those concerns were ones that I had as well. What I guess for me, what I want to reiterate is, again, the zoning as it stands right now is not beneficial for Ambleside Meadows, and it's not beneficial for Avalon, nor is it beneficial for companies like Vega. And I want to talk about them a little bit because I don't know that anybody will drive by Vega, and thank you, Mr. Grooms, for being here, and say that that is not an attractive building. And just a quick side note, that was a gorgeous Christmas tree that you had out as well. I want to take credit because you saw Mason's signs as it came in, and then it was this beautiful Christmas tree. So, but that's the level and quality I think that we're going to see with the PUD, where we're not going to see that now if it's just left alone. So the point is that if we do nothing, then we're going to have larger issues, and we're going to have companies there or types of companies there that we don't actually want. And so I think the city's done a fairly good job making some adjustments based off of feedback at Planning Commission. And again, we appreciate you showing up there for that as well. That allows for the types of companies and the attractive companies that we want to have go there that I'm okay living next to with those existing setbacks. And so those are, so I appreciate, again, everyone being here, the comments, the concerns, and again, stay engaged. As we've heard a couple of times, as these things go back through Planning Commission, come back before council, if there are some major changes, we still want to hear from you. And want to know what those concerns are so we can really address those in very specific terms at that point. All right, any other council comments before I wrap up? All right, roll call.
Councilmember Singh?
Yes.
Councilmember Spaeth?
Yes.
Councilmember Swamy?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gibson?
Yes.
Mayor Stricula?
Yes.
Councilmember Bennett?
Yes.
Councilmember Burrell?
Yes.
All right, ordinance 2026-1, first reading. Motion to read by title only, please.
Mayor, can we just have a 5-minute break, please?
Yes, absolutely,
you.
yeah, thanks. Well, wait, do we need to take a roll call for that? Sorry.
No, this is, you can just call the meeting to a recess.
All right, quick 5-minute recess. All right, thank you. Yeah. Need a motion to reconvene, or?
So moved.
Second? Any seconds? Awesome. Okay. Reconvene. Ordinance 2026-1, first reading. Motion to read by title only, please.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed?
Approval of a revised concept plan unit development plan for Great Wolf Lodge located at 2501 Great Wolf Drive, Great Wolf Lodge PUD.
Mr. Hanson?
We'd like to set a hearing for February 9th.
Excellent. Ordinance 2026-2, motion to read by title only, please.
Did anybody do it? So moved? I'm sorry.
No, we did not get it.
I'm
First
sorry.
and second.
I
Ally,
can't
you
hear
good?
over
No
here.
one? Great. Mr. Forbes?
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a service agreement in the amount of $8,000 with the Mason Historical Society.
Mrs. Heft?
Yes, Mayor, members of council, if you don't mind, I'm going to cover the next two pieces of legislation together. These are service agreements we have had for a number of years that provide, for two organizations that provide some critical services for our community. That's both the Mason Historical Society. Their job is to promote and preserve Mason's history, and the Humane Society, which helps rehome animals. They provide the health and safety of the community as well through prevention of cruelty, neglect, and homelessness for animals in the city. They also provide a safe haven and a loving care for homeless dogs and cats, and they help reunite thousands of pet owners with their animals. Last year alone, they served approximately 100 stray lost animals were placed in the shelter and or reunited with their families here in Mason. So these are services that the city itself would not provide, and so having these two organizations provide these services for us. As part of the service agreement, we try to craft a service agreement that there is an exchange of value for it. Obviously, the services in some cases alone are enough, but with the Mason Historical Society, we also have been able to secure free memberships for new premier members of the community center as part of our agreement with that organization. So again, very critical responsibilities here in our community for two organizations, both the Mason Historical Society and the Humane Society. Oh, and I also want to point out that Mason Historical Society did a wonderful video for us last year, which was the Glory Days. Again, just promoting the history of Mason and some of our residents here. So with that, ordinance 2026-2 and 3 are recommended for adoption. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Council discussion? Roll call?
Councilmember Spaeth?
Yes.
Councilmember Swamy?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gibson?
Yes.
Mayor Stricula?
Yes.
Councilmember Bennett?
Yes.
Councilmember Burrell?
Yes.
Councilmember Singh?
Yes.
All right, ordinance 2026-3, motion to read by title only, please.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed?
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a service agreement in the amount of $8,000 with the Warren County Humane Association.
Mrs. Heft, anything to add? No? Nope. Motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Great. Motion to adopt.
Moved.
No, wait, did I say that one already? No, I didn't. Motion, okay. Sorry. Second on that one?
Second.
Great. Council discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Swamy?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gibson?
Yes.
Mayor Stricula?
Yes.
Councilmember Bennett?
Yes.
Councilmember Burrell?
Yes.
Councilmember Singh?
Yes.
Councilmember Spaeth?
Yes.
Ordinance 2026-4, motion to read by title only.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed?
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Statewide Ford for the purchase of 2 Ford Interceptor utility vehicles in the amount of $143,580 and declaring an emergency.
Mrs. Heft.
Yes, Mayor, members of council, if you don't mind, I'm going to cover ordinance 2026-4, 5, 6, and 7 together. Generally, at the start of a new year, our service director will gather up all equipment requests for the year. He'll begin evaluating vendors for those purchases. And we try to move those forward in the early part of the year because right now, lead times alone we're seeing critical, extensive lead times, especially on fire equipment. So as we move forward in future years, that's generally our practice, to try to approve legislation for equipment, usually during the months of January and February, but as quickly as we can. Ordinance 2026-4 authorizes the purchase of 2 Ford Interceptor utility vehicles from Statewide Ford in an amount not to exceed $143,000. These pieces of equipment, one will replace a 2014 model Ford Interceptor that's used as a paramedic vehicle, and the second is a Ford utility vehicle that was deemed to be a total loss from a collision in 2025. The manufacturer's ordering deadline on this is January 15th. Ordinance 2026-5 authorizes the purchase of 3 Dodge Durango police pursuit vehicles from Greevy Chrysler Dodge Jeep of Van Wert in the amount not to exceed $132,978. Again, the manufacturer's request for order deadline is January 15th. These vehicles, the expected delivery on them won't be until later this year. Ordinance 2026-6 authorizes the removal, transfer, and purchase and installation of emergency equipment for 4 police cruisers that are currently here at the city. We have been using as pool vehicles. Generally, that is how we get the most use out of our vehicles. When we order new vehicles, they usually will be used as pool vehicles, and then before they are moved into frontline service. So extending that useful life of those vehicles that are currently being used. The lead time on this equipment is, again, about 9 months. What we have done that began this last year was trying to use in-house staff to convert some of or to add the light bars and stuff to our police vehicles. We'd like to try again this year to do that, pending time and other priorities. But if we are able to do it in-house, we would be saving about $5,000 per vehicle. Emergency clause has been added to this ordinance as well, just to ensure that the vehicles could be completed in 2026. Ordinance 2026-7 authorizes the purchase of 1 Toro Sandpro 3040 and 1 Toro Greenmaster 3150Q from Century Equipment in the amount of $73,138. The new Sandpro will replace a similar 2015 model, and the Greenmaster will replace a 1996 model Green Master Unit. Both these purchases will be made from the Golf Course Fund. All proposed replacement equipment will be purchased either through the State of Ohio Purchasing Program or the Sourcewell Purchasing Program. For those who are not aware of it, purchasing vehicles and equipment through these programs offers benefits such as cost savings, streamlined processes, and access to diverse vendors and cooperative purchasing opportunities. Let's see. There are some additional equipment items included in the 2026 budget that will not require council legislation, but I just want to draw your attention to them so you know, so you're aware that we will be purchasing them. 2 utility vehicles, a turf tender, and a debris blower for use at the golf course, 2 portable message boards, and an arrow board. And an arrow board are planned for purchase this year. The cost will be less than $50,000, again, not requiring council action. The 2026 budget included a vehicle contingency amount of $900,000 plus a carryover contingency balance of $969,000 for the purchase of all these vehicles. With the approved above ordinances, a balance of roughly $1.4 million will be available in the contingency fund. I did want to talk a little bit about the emergency clause. That's kind of unusual for us to do. I pointed out a little bit when I began this, was to talk about the lead time and the need for emergency clause. But when council approves legislation, once it's approved, it takes 30 days for it to go into effect. So we can't order anything. We're not allowed to move ahead anything for 30 days. What an emergency clause does, it allows us to move forward with that purchase immediately following council's approval. Again, that helps with the lead time, the significant lead times we're seeing right now. I think that with that, ordinance 2026-4 through 2026-7 is recommended for adoption. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? All right, motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Council discussion? Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Gibson?
Yes.
Mayor Stricula?
Yes.
Councilmember Bennett?
Yes.
Councilmember Burrell?
Yes.
Councilmember Singh?
Yes.
Councilmember Spaeth?
Yes.
Councilmember Swamy?
Yes.
Ordinance 2026-5, motion to read by title only.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed?
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Grieve Chrysler Dodge Jeep of Van Wert for the purchase of 3 Dodge Durango police pursuit vehicles in the amount of $132,978 and declaring an emergency.
Motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Council discussion? Roll call, please.
Mayor Stricula?
Yes.
Councilmember Bennett?
Yes.
Councilmember Burrell?
Yes.
Councilmember Singh?
Yes.
Councilmember Spaeth?
Yes.
Councilmember Swamy?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gibson?
Yes.
Ordinance 2026-6, motion to read by title only.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed?
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Tri-State Public Safety for the removal, transfer, purchase, and installation of emergency equipment into 4 new police vehicles in the amount of $100,000 and declaring an emergency.
Motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Council discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bennett?
Yes.
Councilmember Burrell?
Yes.
Councilmember Singh?
Yes.
Councilmember Spaeth?
Yes.
Councilmember Swamy?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gibson?
Yes.
Mayor Stricula?
Yes. Ordinance 2026-7, motion to read by title only.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed?
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Century Equipment for the purchase of 1 Toro Sandpro 3040 and 1 Toro Greenmaster 3150Q in the amount of $73,138.
Motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Council discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Burrell?
Yes.
Councilmember Singh?
Yes.
Councilmember Spaeth?
Yes.
Councilmember Swamy?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gibson?
Yes.
Mayor Stricula?
Yes.
Councilmember Bennett?
Yes.
Ordinance 2026-8, motion to read by title only.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed?
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Barrett Paving Materials, Inc. for the Tylersville Road at Mason Montgomery Road intersection improvement project in the amount of $3,721,810 and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Seiler, sorry.
Thank you. I wasn't sure if I should just go or not.
Just dive in. Anybody's
you.
welcome. Yeah.
It's
Fire
getting
away.
late.
Fire
It's getting-
away.
It's getting late. I'll keep it short. This is a project that the engineering department's been working on for the past 4 or 5 years. We looked at how we can improve the capacity of this intersection, which is probably one of the top 4 or 5 busiest intersections in the city. The result of the study was northbound, southbound, dual left turn lanes, and then right turn lanes on all approaches. So that's what would be constructed. The city was successful in getting 2 grants. One was an OKI grant, and then we also got a OPWC grant towards the project. So about $2.4 million in grant funds towards the project. The bids were very tight. Some of the bidders were only just a few. The 4 lowest bids were within 4.5% of each other, which is really good. However, it was considerably higher than what our estimate was for the project. And we really think that's due to the constraints on this because it is one of our busiest intersections in the city. The constraints on it are they can have reduced lanes only between the hours of 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. So the contractor really has 6 hours every day where they can reduce lanes and get work done. And our estimate, it looks like excavation was one of the bid items that was really high, and we think that's because both the site itself is really tight because of there's not a lot of area for them to lay down area around the site and the time constraints. So Barrett Paving has done multiple projects for the city over the years. They're an ODOT pre-qualified contractor, and I have no doubt that they can do this project. We would start construction as soon as possible. Ordering material would be the main thing. The lead time, the longest thing is probably the signal poles. They take the longest lead time. And for that reason, we have the emergency clause that Jennifer referenced on this so that those poles can be ordered. And the goal would be to have this entire intersection done by the end of November this year. So with those time constraints and lane constraints, getting that project done will be, that's going to be an intersection you're going to want to avoid all summer long if you can. So with that, ordinance 2026-8 is recommended for adoption. I'll answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading. I'm sorry. We'll get to council discussion. Yeah, sorry.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Council discussion. Yes, Councilmember Rowe.
A couple of us were approached during the campaign with a question on pedestrian crossing
Okay.
with the addition of multiple lanes,
Right.
basically adding 2 more lanes in every direction. So can you just talk through what, if any, we did in terms of study to try and mitigate any risk with that additional?
Yeah, good question. We had the same concerns, and many of the intersections in the city, we try not to have right turn lanes just because of the right turn on red and the amount of pedestrians, especially at this intersection around the schools. We've been very, we have not wanted to put right turn lanes in, even though we know that's what's needed at the intersection. 2 things that we did was the lanes that are out there, especially on Tylersville Road, are 12-foot wide, and we're narrowing the lanes with the intersection improvement. So the crosswalk, although it's more lanes, the crosswalks in some cases actually shortened throughout the intersection, which we were kind of surprised because we got that same concern when we looked at it. Some of them were shorter. The other thing we are doing is there's a blank out, what we call a blank out sign that will come up, and it'll highlight when there's a pedestrian in the crosswalk. It'll come on and say, that there's caution right on red. I can't remember the exact details. I know Steve has told me about it, but there's a blank out sign that'll draw more attention to the pedestrians at that intersection.
Pedestrian or the driver?
To the driver,
Yeah, okay.
that there's pedestrians in the crosswalk. Yes, sorry. So when the push button is actuated, that light will come on. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep, sure.
Yes, Councilmember Bennett.
I'm going to have to leave way earlier for meetings, apparently, because I live right there. I'm curious about the power lines. They're kind of a mess right now. Is that
They are.
because they're prepping for this project?
Yeah, there's, if you look at probably the one that you're seeing that's really bad is at the, what is it, northwest corner.
Yep.
There's a street light on that, and so that street light has to be relocated to the new pole, and so that they can swing all the wires and get them out of the way. So that street light relocation is kind of holding up the other utilities from relocating. And generally how they do it is from, once Duke moves theirs to the new pole, then each utility company that's on down the pole swings over. So when one holds them up, they all get held up. So, yeah, it's that's just the beginning of the mess.
The OCD in me wants to go and roll them all up
Right,
and
yeah.
cable them together so they look
Yep,
neater.
yep.
Thank you.
It's only beginning.
Mayor, I just have a quick question. I
Councilmember Spade.
apologize, you just said when it was going to start. When is it starting?
We would try to get some work done before school is out, and then they'll really try to get a lot of the work done when school is out. But
Through the summer mostly?
yeah, through the summer mostly.
Okay.
Yeah. But there'll be some, if they can do some of the underground work outside of the roadway, they'll get started this spring, even with things like that. And they actually have to build a temporary signal out there with wooden poles. So there'll be a temporary signal that gets put up, that kind of thing that they can build. They could build that without interrupting the traffic. And the reason they have to do that is as they excavate and do the intersection work, they're going to be tearing up the conduit to the existing signal. So they have to build a temporary one. So there's a pretty sophisticated mains of traffic for this, and that's what we think added to the cost. So.
Okay, thanks.
Any other council discussion? Nope. It's a lot faster than those roundabouts on 42. That's right.
When you're in it, it's not going to see.
Yep.
I apologize for the calls you're getting.
All right. With no other further council discussion, roll call, please.
Councilmember Singh?
Yes.
Councilmember Spaeth?
Yes.
Councilmember Swamy?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gibson?
Yes.
Mayor Stricula?
Yes.
Councilmember Bennett?
Yes.
Councilmember Burrell?
Yes. Great. Next is old and new business. Do we have any old and new business?
Mayor, can I mention one thing? I failed earlier. I did so little this meeting, and I failed at one thing. Was going to ask for a motion to fold the former PCC and SPS property into the city's current farming contract. But I think on second thought, maybe we do wait until next meeting and do that at the beginning of the meeting. That's probably worth a little bit more public awareness. And I don't think, after Kurt and I consulted, that won't put us behind on the farming pace. So anticipate that coming to the next meeting. We may even look at it a little closer if we do that via legislation or motion.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Mr. Hanson. Any other new and old business? Councilmember
Mayor.
Spain? Yep.
Yes, I'll just be quick here. We had our Planning Commission meeting last week on January 6th, and I've served on Planning Commission before, but I hadn't been on for a couple years. And after this first meeting, it made me realize there's sometimes that are things that are considered at Planning Commission that the rest of council doesn't get privy to. And I know there's a lot of times when people will say, oh, what's going in over here, or what's going, and we don't know if it's not coming before council. So I've decided that I'm going to just be really brief and just tell everybody after every Planning Commission meeting what we were looking at. For instance, okay, so there were 3 items. We had the Great Wolf Lodge Suite Tower, the concept plan, and of course you know about that because we'll have a public hearing on that next month. And then there was the Villages of Mason. We passed the final PUD and landscape plan. This location is on Beach Boulevard, and this will not come back before council because the zoning came before council last year at some point. So if I would just suggest if you have more questions about this residential development, maybe to ask Kurt or Eric or someone. And then the last thing we considered, this is also something that's not going to come before council, but someone else may hear about it. There's a Wynn Nail Salon that's going to be going in right by the Fifth Third at Dorothy Lane. And that's one of those things, kind of like if it doesn't come before council, someone may ask you about it and we don't know about it. So I just want to, I'm always going to just kind of give a brief whatever. And then if you have more questions, you can get a hold of staff about it. And then the other thing real quick, Kurt, I know I mentioned this to you, but there was a citizen, and I'm not going to mention his name because I forgot to ask him if he cared if I mentioned his name, but he's had a lot of conversations with you about the lighting on Fairway Drive between Kings Mills Drive and Eagle View Drive. And he's talked about that there are 20 lights in need of an upgrade, and presently of the 20 lights, 3 are not working. There's 4 different head types within the 20 lights, not to mention that there are different lighting sources that give off different shades of light, and the poles are all leaning in different directions. And I promised him I would mention it at council because I know there's this is around the golf course, and I know there's probably other residents who have these same questions about, is there any update about when all that's going to get fixed?
Yeah, we actually, Steve and I met with the lighting designer for Duke, and they haven't got back to us yet. It was probably in November. And I think maybe the last meeting we had something in the packet about there's an easement that Duke is going to need for, they're connecting 2 substations to increase the power at the tennis center. And as a result of that easement that they need, we're trying to do some horse trading to see if we would upgrade those lights on Fairway in exchange for the easement that we need to grant them. So we're working on that. We'll, most likely, they won't be able to totally horse trade, but they may be able to pay us for the easement. We can use that to pay to have the lights upgraded.
Okay, I appreciate that.
We're waiting on Duke to design it.
I'll tell this person to be sure and watch right now.
Okay.
If he's not watching.
I would add to the engineers, I wouldn't mistake that for being imminent.
Yeah.
That means there's progress being made, but
Right.
these things don't happen as fast as intersections, maybe.
Right, yeah. Mason Road, we just approved the lighting for Mason Road, and that took us 2 years to get that done, so.
Okay,
They're not, they have other priorities, I think.
thank you.
And I think it's been 100 years since there's been a horse trade in Mason. So that's probably, so that'll be exciting. Do we have any other new and old business from council members? Sorry, new and old business? Nope. So nice segue from Councilmember Spaeth on Planning Commission. So we had a resident vacancy that we need to fill. And I think most of us know him, but Jay Mybers has stepped up and has been kind of excited to fill that role, and so I would like to appoint Jay Mybers to fill that position on Planning Commission. So I just need a motion to adopt.
I'll make the
Or
motion.
appoint, sorry, motion to appoint him, sorry, thank you.
I'll make the motion.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll
And
second it.
Second? All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? No? Awesome. So Jay, if you're watching, congratulations, and thank you for your service. And then I'll just finish up with, and I appreciate everyone's patience when we're talking about council assignments, how we move forward, things that we do as a body and as a team. And I want to thank Mr. Hanson as well for his patience. He spent a lot of time with me over the last month and a half, just discussing how we've done things in the past, the committee structure, what that looks like, the necessity of that, and different ways of doing those things. I did bounce some ideas off of the vice mayor as well. So if anything that I say you don't like, it was his idea at that point. But I think we're gonna shift, at least for the short time or the time being, from a standing committee structure to more of a project-based committee or as-needed based committee structure. And so we're moving to that. We're going to fill that, I don't call it a void, but that need for us to still communicate and still work through different ideas and different things in a more casual environment to what I anticipate will be a work session the second meeting of the second month of the quarter, if that makes sense. So more information on that as it comes. It will be very structured. We'll meet on purpose and with intention because we want to make it valuable for everybody who's involved and also for the community that will be there as well. And I think it's going to accomplish a couple of things. I think, one, we're going to have better communication amongst us. We're going to have all 7 of us hearing the exact same information at the exact same time. So we're going to have better communication, more collaboration between all of us. I think we're going to have more transparency, and I think ultimately we're going to end up being more productive. And if any of those things are not true, then we'll shift and we'll adjust fire and drive on. So But we're going to try that out a little bit. We do have some committee assignments. I think it's on your desk, hopefully. Did it get there? Just kidding. It's coming. So it is light, and it is different than what we've seen in the past. But it's a great start. We've got a couple things. Park Board, Councilmember Singh has graciously opted to fill that seat. And I just want to thank Councilmember Bennett for her service on the Park Board over the last couple of years. She did a great job. And then the Warren County Municipal League, we have Councilmember Swamy has graciously accepted or opted to serve there for us. I think he's going to be a great liaison for the city. And then we also have our first, I think, project-based assignment, which is the America 250 committee, which Councilmember Spaeth will chair that with Councilmember Bennett and Councilmember Burrell. So excited to see what comes from that piece. So with that, I just need a motion or an all in favor, I guess, of committee assignments. So we don't need a motion we're not adopting anything. Just a motion.
It's really just council consenting to those appointments.
Remember, if you don't like it, it was Vice Mayor Gibson's idea. So, and I'm just kidding. That was my idea. So everybody's okay with that? Thank you so much. So now we have recognition of visitors.
Mayor, can I ask you a question? You said,
Oh, yes.
did you say, so we're going to have this first work session, would that be February 23rd? Is that what you're talking about, the second Monday of the second month?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm already,
Fourth, second meeting, so the fourth Monday,
or the fourth, I'm sorry, the
Yeah.
fourth Monday
should be
of,
February 23rd.
like every other month? Is that what you're saying? Or,
Once a quarter, yeah. Second month of the quarter. Yeah,
So-
we'll do them quarterly right now. If we need to do it more
but
frequently,
the
we
first
can,
one is
but
February 23rd?
that's what we're anticipating, yeah.
Okay, I just want to tell you I'll be in the Caribbean, but that's okay.
We'll join you down there. Yeah, it'll be great.
We just have to notice it there.
Yeah, we just
I'll
have
be in
to
the
public
Caribbean.
notice in the Caribbean, right? Yeah. Should be, yeah. I think it's a great idea. Thanks, Councilmember Spaeth, for
Apologize,
inviting
I
us.
didn't realize I was even, right?
That's right.
Yeah, we're passing that, right?
That's right. That's right, yes.
First, sorry, just the May happens to be a Memorial Day week, fourth Monday.
What I was
oh,
going to
sorry.
add, Mayor, if this is helpful, I wouldn't mistake this for the public announcement of the meeting, more as anticipating that. We will do the kind of the formal announcement so the public knows when we confirm the date and whether that date's even needed. But presuming that's, so we're not announcing that as the ongoing meeting schedule, just an anticipated.
Yeah. Yeah, council should right now already have that fourth Monday set aside or blocked out for time. So that's when we'll try to plan something along those lines. But yeah, Councilmember Swamy, to your point, in November, that fourth Monday falls on typically Thanksgiving week, and that's going to be hard to do too. So we'll adjust as we get there. All right.
Mayor, can I make a request in regard to the America 250 committee, just because actually Eric reminded me about this. Back when we had the bicentennial, we started working on that the year before, and so we're a little bit behind. So I want to request that we try to get a committee meeting scheduled just as soon as possible. I know staff has already spearheaded a little bit and got started. So we can use this first meeting to catch up and see where we are and where we're going with that. But I think we need to get one scheduled as soon as possible. And also, if we can at all, try to get it within staff working hours or as close to it. And I am willing to get up early. So you know that's big. I will come in super early if that helps staff. So anyway, thank you.
So, thank you, Councilmember Spaeth. Yep. And I apologize, I did miss the Veterans Board as well. That'll be myself, Vice Mayor Gibson, and Councilmember Spaeth. We'll serve on that, sorry. Any other council comments, I guess, on the assignments? Great. Recognition of visitors, number 2. I think we're good. All right. Okay, so I need a well, before we go into, do I make the executive session then special announcement?
As long as people stay seated and do this.
Special announcements.
Okay.
Let's do it now.
Special, we have a very special event that just happened yesterday. But Councilmember Singh's birthday was yesterday. So a happy birthday to Councilmember Singh. And luckily, there is no one here. Hopefully, they're not watching anymore because we're going to sing happy birthday as soon as I turn my mic off. So. Awesome. Happy birthday.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
I need so the next agenda item is executive session, acquisition, disposition of property, employment compensation of public employees, and security assignments. So motion to adjourn into executive session for those purposes, please.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Spaeth.
Yes.
Councilmember Swamy.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gibson.
Yes.
Mayor Stricula.
Yes.
Councilmember Bennett.
Yes.
Councilmember Burrell.
Yes.
Councilmember Singh.
Yes.
Excellent.